Yeah, the last one, 15.
Okay, we're ready to go? Good. Okay. So under adoption of previous draft minutes, we have regular monthly meeting, May 11th, 2020. Special meetings open, May 13th, 28th, June 3rd, 2020. Motion to move them?
Both.
Moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, business arising. There's the minutes. Any business arising? Seeing none, we can go right to the report. And Scott Adams is here. So Scott, you're doing 6.6 and you're now 6.1.
Top of the list.
So maybe we should, what we'll do first, sorry,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, Councillor Duffy, do you want to give your
Sure.
report? Sorry about that, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship, for moving us up on the agenda. Mr. Adams has an appointment, and we will make sure he makes that appointment. The Public Works and Beautification, Urban Beautification Committee met on May the 26th. 5 or 6 items I'd like to bring to the attention of council. The first item that we discussed was the ADL, or as most people know, the GPS system, which is in most of our vehicles. We have about 105 vehicles that are connected to this system, and the average cost of this system within our vehicles is $35 per vehicle. There is a great deal of savings rendered from this system, and a great many efficiencies also. The stats suggest that during the first 3 months that we had it back in 2017, or 16, I'm sorry, the system reduced our driving hours by 874 hours, and idling time was down by 468 hours. And added to that was a fuel saving of $5,500. So these are quite beneficial. We get to the job faster, we get to emergencies faster. It just streamlines our whole processes. The department now is in the process, because it was a 3-year contract, we're now in the process of going out to bids to upgrade and to provide this service. And the departmental people at this point in time are asking for some time to consult with the other departments, such as police and fire, parks and recreation, water, the staff in those departments that use these systems, to see what they really appreciate with these systems and what they figure that there's some elements or some features that aren't that beneficial. So tailoring them more to the employees' needs to go back out to tender, back out into the general public. That's pretty well it for the GPS system. Another issue that we discussed at committee was the Passmore Street rework. Passmore Street is, as we know, 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 streets over this way. It is in pretty ripe shape. Mr. Adams and his staff have decided to make it a project where we'll make it a bit of a model street, maybe a street that we will use as a model for future streets, and that will be. It's a very narrow street, so there's a suggestion from the department that we make it one way going from Queen Street up to University Avenue. That will give the people redesign the street a little bit more elbow room to work with. There will be also, I believe, sidewalk just on one side. There'll be trees, certain other amenities to really give it a real better look to. And it is on one of the major routes into the city, the downtown core. Being a block or two, 1 block, I guess, from Houston Street. The fourth or the third area that we had some discussions was on the Memorial Bench Program. This is a program where the city offers benches to residents of the city who want to have some sort of memory item around the city for their loved one. We have approximately 85 memorial benches as of this date. It's been on the go for a long time, and the cost of each bench, I believe, is in the neighborhood of $600. Well, that was established quite a while ago, so the $600 has been surpassed now. They're talking for the purchase and placement of the bench alone, not the installation or the maintenance to it, but just those 2 items is in the range of $1,500 to $1,600. So the department has has revamped the policy that guides this program to bring it into kind of the 21st century, and so that should be coming to council for their consideration and review very shortly. Two items left. One is the UPI road extension. This is a road that UPI has really outgrown their two existing entrances, exits, one at Brown's Court and the other down by the farmer's market. They need another way to get back out onto a throughfare or into the university from a throughfare. So their plan is to put a road extension which will basically come off of the lands out by the alumni office, the building where the alumni office is, out close to what we know as Paul's Flowers, the north intersection. The south intersection, and not quite to Paul's Flowers. This will allow people to get out onto the highway with less hassle. That's the UPI road extension. And the final thing for tonight, Your Worship, I believe, is to the connector road that will connect Towers Road to Spencer Drive. That is in the design phase, and work will soon start on that. And that should be an added advantage to anyone who's over in the Mount Everett Road area east, getting them across town on the north side rather than having to come right down, either go through the mall parking lot, the Charlottetown Mall parking lot, or go right down to Belvedere Avenue. So it'll move traffic in a lot more expedient way. Your Worship, we have 8 resolutions for your consideration, and I will answer any questions. Before I move on to the resolutions, I think, as we discussed earlier, the 2 packages for asphalt paving are in the resolutions. I just want to make it clear to council here tonight that you'll notice there, to the tender packages, there's no listing of streets. There's been some confusion over the last couple of years where this council approves or disapproves streets. This council does not approve streets. That's why it's not in this council chamber. It's the department, it's an operational issue, and the department chooses the streets. The second item I would like to make clear is the information sheet that is sent out to the suppliers. There's one statement in this information sheet that says the manager of the Public Works reserves the right to increase or reduce any quantity or remove any item of work from the contract in order to meet the city's budgetary constraints. In other words, it's driving home the fact that it is the manager of the Public Works Department who makes when we add streets or take away streets on the list, and that's done for operational purposes. That also is not a responsibility of City Council. Thank you, Your Worship. I'll answer any questions anyone may have.
Councillor McCabe first, and then Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, and thank you for your report, Councillor Duffy. I'm just wondering, we approved $2.5 million for the stormwater management program back in our capital budget, and I know we talked about that money being used for box culverts that were in need of repair in the city. Wondering if you could just give me an update on where this project is. You know, is the 2.5? I know we discussed how expensive this project was going to be, so I'm wondering, is that $2.5 million going to be enough to do that project? And in that, will there be any money still for the committed ditch filling program in the outskirts?
Thank you, Councilor McCabe. As that is a large project, and it's a very important project, and it is a big job. I would turn that over to Mr. Adams to address as an operational issue.
Right. Your Worship,
Scott,
so yes.
just before you start, can you just bring the mic up? Everybody wants to hear you there in the cyberspace. There's a lot of people listening to you.
So Your Worship, in regards to the question, so the consultant, they are based out of Moncton. They're currently working on a plan with both Health PEI and New Brunswick Health as well, to make sure that they can travel over and go back safely across the border. As of right now, they have tentatively scheduled for June 4th, or this Thursday, to do, it's a one-day inspection. They'll do the camera work and all of the inspection work. That was on Friday. Today they're still on track to be over here for Thursday doing that inspection work. So once they have all that information, anticipate at a minimum a brief summary of what pipes look like that have been identified as critical. And then we could start narrowing down what work will be done under that budget this year. So we are well within timeframes to be able to, as long as everything works out and the inspection's done within the next week or two, we should be well within timeframes to identify our priority areas, have the consultant either do the design work or identify what needs to be done, and then have that work manufactured and tendered.
Just one more clarification question, if I could. So basically, the $2.5 million that we've budgeted in our capital budget, there's not gonna be ditch and fill program, probably, any ditches and fill this year.
At this time, it's earmarked for this program, what's going to be identified during these inspections.
Okay, no, thank you.
Councilor Bernard.
Thank you, Yours. Councilor Duffy, I'm just wondering, do you know, did UPEI, are they still planning on bringing their street down to Endon Crescent south to the lights? And the reason I ask that is I don't see any survey markers, and I noticed that they got the light standards coming in and going to the alumni building, to the parking lot.
Oh, is that right?
And I'm just wondering, does anybody know if anything's changed, or is that just temporary?
Oh, I was under the impression it was feeding right on the intersection at the south entrance to Edmund Crescent.
Inman South.
Yeah.
And
Is
that's
that
correct.
true?
Yes, that's
Mr.
correct.
Adams?
Yeah.
I just wondered why the light stands go right up and goes into the parking lot of the.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a service road off this new main road that's just for accessing that building. I believe it's gonna have bollards there, so it's really just for their own
Gonna have
maintenance.
what there?
Bollards, so like the big, essentially, those little posts that go on the ground that prevent traffic from going up this service road. This road is essentially just an access point for their maintenance staff to get up to the back side of that building that's on University Avenue. It's not going to be for traffic flow or anything of that nature.
Oh, okay.
It's just a driveway at the end of the day. But yes, all main traffic will be going through the intersection at Inman Crescent South. And they'll be taking care of all the upgrades to our infrastructure to meet the needs of that new extension as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Is there, you know, if there's any concerns with stormwater and that water area?
I know they've as far as I know, they've gone through the environmental assessment process with the province, and that has all been taken care
Right
of.
on.
Yeah.
That's Hermitage Creek, correct? Scott? That's
I-
Hermitage Creek that he's talking about.
I'm not 100% sure.
Councilor McLeod, and get in there.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Councilor Duffy, for your report. Just a question for Scott, getting back to Julie McCabe's question on storm water. So, with the 3 apartment buildings going up on Kensington Road, and they're theoretically feeding into that storm system, is that going to be one of the projects that the cameras are going to be looking at?
So yes, they're looking at that storm system that is from Macaulay Park that goes out
Out to Exhibition.
by the Home Hardware out to Exhibition. That is
Okay.
on the list. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'm just wondering if I can get a copy of the list that staff do and go out and they rate the streets. I wonder if I can get a copy of that.
Yeah, we can provide that list. I'll try to get it to you the next couple days.
Good, sir. Councilor Twill.
Councilor Duffy, thanks for your report. Just on Passmore Street, it'd be okay if you could emphasize looking at 2 options. You're not with one option.
Yes.
There are 2 options, and so you could just elaborate on that, and also about emphasizing the public consultation. We are going to send the plans, 2 options out to the community, so the community can look at the options, give their views, whether we do it by a community meeting or letters go out or both. I just want to stress the fact that, you know, the residents are going to be fully engaged and look at both options. So if you could please elaborate on that.
Well, I just have a short description, Councillor Twill, and that's all we all had at our committee meeting. And the option 1 is it's not the preferred option. They have a limited travel lane width, which may impact garbage removal and snow removal. So whatever that means to you. And the option 2 is the preferred option. Is we'll have sufficient room for vehicle movement, and we will be able to plant city trees along the right of way as a way to revitalize this portion of the city. The department anticipates that this work could be a model street for the neighborhood and could set the standard for future narrow streets in the area. That's all that was explained to us as far as options were concerned.
Okay.
I don't know if that's any help to you or not.
Yeah, I just want to, because
Yeah.
what's going to happen is the people are going to read about it, or hear about it, or watching the meeting tonight, and they're going to think, well, one option, and then I'll have to try to explain the second. That's why I wanted to bring it out.
Sure.
So they know that there's two options, and that
Yeah.
they are going to be engaged. The item that I wanted to bring up tonight, I've been driving around other communities, and to their credit, they have, it's something I was thinking maybe we can do in Public Works. To their credit, they have signs made up. Slow down, children in the area. Cornwall has it, I'm not sure if it's Stratford, but I think it'd be a huge investment if we could make signs up in Public Works, and if residents in our city, particularly in the neighborhoods, where parks, narrow streets, schools, whatnot, would like to take a sign and put it on their front lawn to forewarn the vehicle traffic that use the older part of the city as shortcuts, as you know. I think that'd be a good investment. I think it'd go over well with the community. Some residents have already purchased some of their own signs. I've seen them up, and that's inspired me to bring that up here tonight. So if we could please put that on our agenda for the
Well-
next Public Works meeting.
Councillor Twill, the usual procedure for that is that if there's a need, or there seems to be a need, or appears to be a need, the police department is asked to go and take a look at the situation, and they in turn make a recommendation to Public Works to
Yeah.
erect the sign or whatever the solution appears to be.
I know what you're saying, Councillor Duffy.
Yeah.
I know that procedure.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I don't think it's cutting the mustard. I think that the residents would welcome the opportunity to put up signs on their lawns. I see some now, and I see Cornwall, for example, where, here's what the sign says: "Welcome to our neighborhood, please slow down." So I just wanted to bring that up and see if we could explore it.
Well,
That's all.
have you brought it up with the police department?
Yeah, years ago.
Oh, how'd it go?
What do you think?
Okay.
What ends that?
Excuse me, Councilor Ramsey,
Well, it's
you
true.
had your hand up?
No, I didn't, Your Worship.
Oh, that you're saying hi to me. Councilor Drawn.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, Councilor Duffy, is there any warranty on micro-surfacing? I know the Belvedere roundabout by UPEI and Mount Edward Road, it seemed to break away in some pieces. Some places are very good still, but there's a lot of other places that, the asphalt has broken away, and we're back to the old pavement underneath. I'm wondering, is there any type of warranty work on this type of micro-surfacing?
I think the company is, some of the work they're going to be doing when they do come back this summer is under warranty, but I'll let Mr. Adams expound on that as far as the length of time and what's covered, if you would, Mr. Adams.
Yes, Your Worship, so the work is warranted for 2 years from the completion of the contract. So yes, the contractor is aware that there are some areas that had failed, so they will come back and remove those and replace them under warranty, and so then we'll get an additional 2 years on the warranty repair work.
Perfect.
So, yes.
Thank you. Just another, I had 3 or 4 questions. The other one was a schedule for street cleaning machines. I know we have 3. A lot of places within the city are extremely clean now, and it's good to see. I know especially Maple Avenue, it's an older street, and a lot of the pavement is broken away, so, I did give an email there, and I think the street cleaning guy is doing a great job. It's just, if we had a schedule set, like a certain ward or a certain area, and then the residents would know that they're coming, if that could be possible to do. I've asked for a number of years, so I'm just wondering if we could put it back on the agenda maybe to talk about it the next time.
Go ahead.
Your Worship, so we could look at putting a list of streets kind of in order that we try to tackle them. I would not be comfortable putting a timeline on them because there are too many issues that, we can have breakdowns or other things like that, of course, or sometimes in the spring, one street may require 2 passes, one street may require 4 passes, just how compacted the sand and everything is from the summer or from the winter months. But I can look at putting together a list of kind of the order that we will tax streets at and circulate that.
That'd be awesome, because then it gives you the residents an idea. Listen, the city's big, it's gonna take time, they're coming. Just relax.
Can you
Let
put
it
the
be.
next, Councilor Drawn, can you
yes.
put the next 2 items just in one question and you'll answer
Okay,
both?
yeah.
Is that all right?
There was a cul-de-sac, I think Councilor Cody and the former mayor had discussed with Greenleaf Drive residents that there was 5 residents up there that never had a stormwater management system in place, so they get flooded out. They're asking again to sit down or someone to come up and take a look at it. If that was possible, I'll send you another email on that. The last question was sidewalks in Centennial Drive. It's becoming a safety issue that now that people are allowed to go into the homes or go to the windows, the ditches across from the nursing home are very deep, and the ruts in the side where they've been parking. Someone called me the other day and said, I fell into the ditch. And I said, well, we're trying to get sidewalks in there. We've asked for a few years. I'm just asking again that this has turned into a safety concern for these elderly people that are going out in wheelchairs. So that's it
So
for now.
Greenleaf's cul-de-sac and the sidewalks, Scott, you got that?
Yep.
Thank you, Worship. You wanna go to the motions?
Sure.
John.
Mr. Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the request for proposals for design consultation, design consulting services, public works building, the submission of Sable Art Studios in the amount of $182,600, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further, that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements, Your Worship.
Councilor,
Yep. So this is $180,000 for the design work, right? So do we budget a certain amount for this building this year?
Councilor Duffy?
I'm not sure,
Yes, $3 million.
$3 million.
yeah,
So that's in the budget for this year,
Yes,
3 million?
capital budget.
Yeah,
Mr. Adams, is that right?
that's
So
correct.
this
yep.
182 would come out of that 3 million.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Question?
Question
called? Okay. Councilor McLeod?
In favor?
Councilor Twill?
Favor?
Councilor Yankoff?
In favor?
Councilor Rivera?
In favor.
Councilor Drawn?
In favor.
Mayor Cody? Councilor Bernard?
Favor.
Councilor McKay?
In favor.
Councilor Duffy?
Favor.
Councilor Ramsey?
In favor.
And 0. Thank you.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the quote supply and install of 19 mobile radios, the submission of Nova Communications in the amount of $25,238.60, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further, that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question.
Okay. Question? Okay. Questions called. Councilor McLeod?
In favor?
Councilor Twill?
Favor?
Councilor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councilor Rivera?
In favor.
Councilor Drawn?
In favor.
Mayor Cody?
Favor.
Councilor Bernard?
Favor.
Councilor McKay?
In favor.
Councilor Duffy?
In favor.
Councilor Ramsey?
In favor.
0. Thank you, sir.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the request for proposals for 1 3-ton dump plow truck chassis, the submission of East Coast International in the amount of $138,388.70, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further, that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question?
Question called.
Okay. Councilor McDonough?
In favor?
Councilor Twill?
Favor?
Councilor Yankoff?
Approved.
Councilor Rivera?
In favor.
Councilor Drawn?
Favor.
Cody. Long night. Councilor Bernard. Councilor McKay.
In favor.
Councilor Duffy.
Favor?
Councilor Ramsey.
In favor.
So the next two have been amalgamated, right, sir?
Yes,
4
Your
and
Worship.
5?
Yes, Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions for the tender for street resurfacing, Package A, the submission of Chapman Brothers Construction in the amount of $1,678,540, all taxes included, be accepted. And that as per the conditions of the tender for street resurfacing, Package B, the submission of Island Construction Limited in the amount of $1,726,354.70, all taxes included, be accepted. And further, that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
That's all in one?
It's all in one. And you removed, and the council approves the request increase, correct, sir?
Yes, Your Worship.
Second last paragraph? Councilor Duran.
Oh, why is this, you know, we've talked about this, there are 2 packages, why is it in one resolution now?
Right.
If council wishes to split it, Your Worship, they can ask that the motion be split.
Okay. It's just that we combined it to make it $3,350,000
At the time to expand.
at the time, so that's, if you wanna go with resolution by resolution.
So this is it, you're adding money to it?
No. We took that out.
Okay.
It's
Separate
just, we
ones we're
thought,
gonna do, and one
street
is separate.
package A, street package B,
Yeah.
get the asphalting going so that we can get smooth roads throughout the city. Ward 7, Ward 4, and et cetera.
Well, just on that, about the streets, I know that you have reviewed the list of streets, Your Worship.
It's in the tender.
Pardon me?
It's in the tender.
Yes, I understand that, sir. Did you make phone calls to residents saying the streets getting paid?
Oh.
Did you do that, sir?
But it
Did you
is
do
in the
that, sir?
tender. So if anybody
Could you
wants
answer
to
the
see it-
question, sir?
Don't make phone calls. During council. Okay, question? Okay,
Question called?
Councilor McLeod,
In favor.
Councilor Twill, for both? It's a one resolution.
No.
No? Councilor Yankoff,
In favor.
Councilor Rivard,
In favor.
Councilor Durant,
No.
Deputy Mayor Cody, Councilor Bernard,
Favor.
Councilor McKay,
Opposed.
Councilor Duffy,
Favor?
Councilor Ramsey.
Favor?
6-4.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the request for quotations for the traffic control signs and posts, the submission of Ray Fact Agencies Limited in the amount of $58,080.75, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are authorized to execute standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question?
Okay, question.
In favor.
Councilor McLeod, favor. Councilor Twill,
In favor.
Councilor Yankoff,
Favor.
Councilor Rivard,
In favor.
Councilor Durant,
Favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody,
In favor.
Councilor Bernard,
Favor.
Councilor McKay,
In favor.
Councilor Duffy,
In favor?
Councilor Ramsey.
In favor?
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the request for quotation for traffic control signs and posts, the submission of Stinson Equipment Limited in the amount of $37,858.92, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-21 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Sir, thank you. Question? Okay. Councilor McLeod,
In favor.
Councilor Twill,
Favor.
Councilor Yankoff,
In favor.
Councilor Rivard,
In favor.
Councilor Durant,
Favor?
Councilor Deputy Mayor Cody,
In favor.
Councilor Bernard,
Favor.
Councilor McKay,
In favor.
Councilor Duffy,
In favor?
Councilor Ramsey.
In favor.
Okay, sir.
Your Worship, move by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the public request for quotation for one supply and install plow equipment and transfer systems, the submission of Parts for Truck, Inc., in the amount of $185,435, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-21 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to issue standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question call? Question call. Councilor McLeod?
In favor.
Councilor Twill?
In favor.
Councilor Yankoff?
Favor.
Councilor Byrd?
In favor.
Councilor Drawn? Mayor Cody? In favor. Councilor Bernard?
In favor.
Councilor McCabe?
In favor.
Councilor Duffy?
In favor.
Councilor Ramsey?
Favor, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. And that's it, I believe. And Mr. Adams, I hope you'll get to your appointment in time.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship.
So we go back to our agenda, which is planning, and we have Mr. Forbes and Forbes. Here you are, sir. Councilor Rivera.
It's hard to believe we're an hour and a half into the meeting and we haven't even touched planning yet. Scary. This might take us to 7. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Thank you, Your Worship. So the planning board met on Monday, June 1st. Copies of the planning board report are in your binders. We also added the report for 9 Pine Drive, as everyone's aware that was deferred until we returned back to normal council. And so that is added in your package tonight. Heritage Board met on May 25th. And again, the minutes are in your package. The Design Review Board did not meet last month. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. I believe we have 8 resolutions for council's vote tonight. So any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Councilor Twill.
Thank you for your report, Councilor Rivera. One of the things you and I have been talking about recently is this whole notion that the city of Charlottetown, there's a housing crisis. That the drive behind a lot of these developments in the neighborhoods that are affected by these developments. The rationale, the underlying rationale or logic is there's a housing crisis. As chair of planning, and you've been the chair now for going into your 2nd term, would you say that's an accurate statement? It's a misconception, misperception, or propaganda?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Twill. So based on the latest statistics that we have, I mean, again, we have a 1.3 vacancy rate. You know, so I certainly think that the housing concerns that are, you know, that we've had are still there. Now, with that said, I think with the COVID-19 and the you know, with immigration not coming to the island right now, as well as you know, the potential of international students, or students, I guess, in general, returning back to classes for UPEI and Holland College being in question, and with short-term rentals moving, you know, a portion to long-term, and yet construction still ramping up, I certainly do see a different number come the fall, spring, when CMHC release their numbers. You know, I'd hate to guess what that number would be, but I have to assume that the vacancy rate will climb quite a bit. Does that mean that we're out of our housing crisis, you know, if you will? Certainly helps, but again, when things ramp back up next year, and I think you know, that immigration applications are processed and people return, you know, move to the island, as well as some interprovincial movement. Hard to say what those numbers will be, but again, it's hard to say that I hate the word crisis, but we certainly had housing concerns, and are they gone? I don't know until I see the numbers.
Follow up, sir. Would it be possible for you to bring this back to your committee, discuss it with senior staff? I'd like to try to get some type of accuracy.
We'll see.
With respect to, you know, people believe that there's a crisis. Some would argue it's a crisis. It all depends on what your motivation is, or what you really believe and how you perceive things, and how you really believe as to whether or not there is a crisis. But I'd somehow like to get some hardcore data, maybe some analytics, to see if in fact where we are when it comes to housing stock. And you know, as far as recruiting newcomers here to the city and the province, I think that's wonderful, but I think we have to be careful. We got to make sure we have the infrastructure in place, because we'll always be in this dilemma where some will say we're in a a housing crisis. So, you know what I'm driving at.
So the question is, get more information? Is that what you want?
Not only get more information, some research, so bring back some hardcore data back to city council, so we can look at it and see what the trends are and do some kind of a forecast, so we can, we can look at planning and see where we need to go.
Can you take that under,
Well, Your Worship, the problem is that again, staff rely on the same data that we do, which is provided by CMHC. So again, when they're issue their reports, and you can check online their website, they show us how many bills are started and everything else. But again, it's our staff are looking at the same information. So until they release the final report, as they did this year, to show that we went from a 0.2 to a 1.3 vacancy rate, there's really nothing staff can add. I mean, again, we know how many builds are happening, but the one thing that they can't gauge is population growth. So that's very difficult. We can tell you how many units are being built, but again, it's hard to predict.
and
So-
Alex, can you add anything to that?
Your Worship,
Information?
I would just indicate that CMHC is better suited to that. They have trained people. That's all
They're
they do,
tracking.
is they analyze the market, right? So that's their skill set.
That's what the chair of planning just said, right?
And to Councillor Rivard's point, that we have a piece of the information, but we don't have it holistically, which they tend to have.
So the greatest thrust is in the market value, not the non-market value housing, correct? Or is it balanced?
Well, there's a number of factors when they're looking at the marketplace, and they're looking at both the new units that come online, but they're using other variables that aren't like again population growth, and there's other variables as well that they use that they standardize across the country to ensure that when they're commenting about Halifax, they're using the same methodology. So if we jump in ourselves, we would be possibly using a different methodology, and then somebody's going to say, well, why are your numbers different from theirs? So that's why they're regarded as
Wait for their data.
as the experts in that, and again, it's hard to refute their information.
One more question, Councillor.
Thank you. Your Worship, I think it'd be advantageous for City of Charlottetown to extend an invitation, CMHAC, come in and meet with City Council, so we can have further discussions, further deliberations with CMHAC, so we can get a better handle, a better handle as to what they're forecasting and the numbers they're working with, so we can have accurate numbers and data.
But Councillor Twill, the problem with that is CMHC doesn't have an official office. The staff are working from their homes. It's not.
Well, when we're out of the culvert situation, I just think it'd be nice to have that information.
Do you have something to add?
Well, Your Worship, I'm just trying to figure out exactly. I mean, if Councillor Tweel's goal is to say that we're out of a housing crisis, then I'm guessing it's safe to say that the vacancy rate is certainly going to climb. But again, if you look back, Councillor Tweel kind of alluded to what kind of got us in this problem in the first place. In 2015, we had a population growth of I think like maybe 125 people. And with immigration, a big push for immigration through the government at the time, plus interprovincial movement, we went to a population of 3,000. I think in the following year was 3,300, and the following year was like 3,800, which per capita was the biggest in Canada. So we had a population growth of over 10,000 people in a 3-year span, which was an unintended consequence to the economy. But our housing demands, our housing vacancy rate went from somewhere around 6 or 7% down to 0.2, just like that. So again, I think we'll be prepared this time around for any kind of growth like that. But again, we got to continue to build, or we're going to be caught again in the same situation. So,
Okay. So can we get on to the resolutions? For the first resolution, I know that we have two councillors in conflict, Councillor McCabe and Councillor Duran. So do you want to introduce the first resolution?
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Bard, second Deputy Mayor Cody. That request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from low-density residential to medium-density residential located at 9 Pine Drive, PID 393322. Amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from the single detached residential R1L zone to the medium-density residential R3 zone located at 9 Pine Drive, PID 393322. And consolidate 9 Pine Drive, PID 393322, with 11 and 13 Pine Drive, PID 393314, in order to construct a 41-unit apartment dwelling on the consolidated property and be rejected, Your Worship.
Could I just ask, Councilor Rivard, in the background provided by Mr. Forbes, he provides 3 options. The second is to send this application back to the developer in order to meet with the community to determine if there's a proposal that may be acceptable to both parties. I thought that was the purpose of the deferral in March.
That was the initial deferral, Your Worship,
And we're not looking at this anymore. This is now off the table to go back?
My understanding is that the applicant tried to meet with the residents, and the residents, I don't think had an appetite to meet with them unless they were willing to pull the application off first and then meet. And the applicant, I don't believe, was willing to do it at the time, so I don't think the discussion happened. And again, so the applicant did ask to defer until we can get back into the chambers where we can have a healthy debate with regards to the application, as opposed to doing a video conferencing. So we allow that, and here we are today.
So we deferred for 3 months and no meeting took place, and
That's my understanding, correct?
I thought that was.
That was the goal. But again, we
Because
can't.
If it's rejected, it's gonna be 12 months instead of a few more months. So we're not looking at going back to them?
Your Worship, we can't force the applicant to meet with the residents.
Just trying to
We
make things
we
work.
simply suggest that it take place and hope to find a common ground. But again, the meeting didn't take place. We can't force it to happen, and we have an application in front of us for a 41 unit that we have to vote on.
Okay. Councillor Dutton?
Your Worship, you know, when I'm considering these resolutions that come to council, I always like to look for the facts. The facts are important. I noticed with this case, there, although what was being portrayed as facts may have been a little off base or not right on the mark, so to speak. So I dug deeper, and I just want to share with council just some of the facts that I've found in this particular case, because as you're alluding to from the chair, I had lots of time to do it. It's been 3 months or so, so I might be a little rusty on this, but I'll see what I can do. In any development, there's a 100-meter zone surrounding the proposed development, and it is considered that the residents within this sphere would be the residents who would be most affected by the proposed development. For this reason, the residents within this zone are provided a letter advising them of the proposed development, a plan for a public meeting to discuss it, and an opportunity to write the city providing their approval or objection to the development. It's these letters that I want to speak to first. In this particular case, 25 letters were sent out to residents within the zone, within the 100 meters of the proposed development. The city in turn received 31 letters of reply in opposition to the development and 18 letters in support of the development, for a total of 49 letters. And those were all in the package we had back in whatever month that this was on the agenda. The breakdown of the letters is as follows. Those against and live in the zone, the most affected, we had 7. Remember, the city sent out 25 letters? 7 people took the interest and the time to write the city and explain and give their point of view. Those against but do not live in the zone, those outside of this 100 meter, were 24. And those in favor but do not live in the zone, those that lived in Charlottetown or over on Brackley Point Road or somewhere like that, there was 18. That's the 49. It is interesting to note that the city sent out 25 letters to the residents in the zone, but 18 people did not choose to reply. So we were led to believe there was a neighborhood uprising over this. Well, apparently only 28% of the people involved that would be affected took the time to write to us. This lack of reply would indicate to most people that they had no interest in the subject one way or the other. In addition, the 24 who were against the development but outside the zone, one was from Oak Drive, 3/4 of a kilometer away, while one was from Cornwall. If you consider only those individuals that were close enough to the situation to receive a letter from the city, only 7 out of 25, like I say, replied. Some of the reasons for objections which I thought probably were valid. Additional traffic, well, that was just a statement made. There's no empirical evidence to substantiate this claim. City police report indicates that over a 2-year period, there have been 6 fender benders in total at 3 intersections on Pine, at Mount Everett Road, Maple, and Bracken Point Road, 3 different intersections. One resident claimed she had to wait a very long time to turn from Pine onto Mount Everett Road. This would be a Mount Everett Road problem, not a Pine Drive problem, as was intimated. We've heard scale and mass, I don't know. I see a lot of, as Councillor Trio has seen in the Parkdale area as of last month, a lot of not much adherence to scale and mass, but I'll leave that for other people. They talked about blocked sunlight. Don't understand how this building is going to block sunlight to anyone, as it is the furthest back on the lot building on the entire street. It is 2.5 stories high, not 4, as stated in the literature. And I'll wind up with this, Your Worship. Height of the building, as stated above, is 2.5 stories, not 4 stories. It's that little bit of a nudge all the time on these things. Loss of sunlight from such a high building, addressed above. New building not maintained over time, that was one reason they were concerned. Hard to imagine a new expensive building not being maintained in the vicinity of a $7 or $8 million expenditure. Overpowering the streetscape, wasn't substantiated. Set on a deep lot, I don't know how that would happen. Lack of landscaping and parking, vast majority of parking is underground. Diminished property values, this expensive building is hardly a valid reason for property values to decrease. If anything, this structure will cause an increase in property values. I'll leave it at that, Your Worship. Those are just ramblings that I've come up with in my research, so I won't be supporting the resolution to reject this development. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other comments? Could I just ask Mr. Forbes, what was the recommendation from the Planning and Development Department on this?
Your Worship, we had indicated to reject.
Okay. And the Planning Board, I think the vote went 6 to 1, did it not?
That I don't recall, but they also.
Against?
Yeah, they
To
correct.
reject it?
Yeah.
I think the vote was unanimous. I don't know if there was anybody
Yeah,
favoring.
there was one person that voted against it. Yeah.
For it, you mean?
What?
When you say against
From
it?
the, voted, sorry, to, the rejection went 6 to 1. And could I just look, just like, again, Councillor Duffy did his homework, I was doing my homework on it too, going through the package that we had received back in March. So it goes back to 2012. I remember being at the meeting down at the hotel, and they were asking for a 24 unit, but the 2013, I think they came back and the city said that we would look at townhouses, correct?
Correct, yep.
And they were 18 or 19,
Thereabouts, you're correct, Your Worship.
and they refused to, the developer said no to that?
Yeah, they went through, it got planning support, the townhouse proposal, it got planning board support. It was on its way to council and the developer decided to abandon the project, so they withdrew it.
So in 2016, the developer submitted an application for a 27 unit.
Correct,
And it was
yeah.
handled by the department,
Correct?
and you rejected it. And
Correct?
then the applicant appealed the decision of staff,
Correct?
and that had to go to council under reconsideration of the development officer's decision.
Correct, yep.
And I think the vote that was taken on September 12th, there were 10 councillors present, and it was to reject or agree with the development officer, correct?
Correct, yep.
And the vote was 10-0, correct? what I
The
have
vote I don't have right here, but sounds correct.
Yeah, so it was to turn down the 27 units under the reconsideration.
Correct, yep.
So now we have one that's asking for 41. Yeah. Councilor?
To be clear, Your Worship, back in the previous episodes with this property, they have since obtained another piece of property,
Yeah.
which has made the lot bigger.
This 27 was just for 11 and 13.
Yes, right. And also, we have a housing issue, rental unit issue still. We're doing well, but we could do better.
Well, that's why I'm glad that Councillor Tweel asked the question, because I see the market value is taken off. The non-market value is not taken off. That's to me, that's a very worrisome, Councillor Duffy, because this economic crisis that we're gonna see as this pandemic continues, we're gonna need more affordable and accessible housing.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
Sure. And that's
I
another,
just, again, just going back to that vote, I think
Yeah.
8 members of that council returned here. So 2 didn't return, so, you know, it shows that there was a concern back then for 27. Now it's 41 and we're, you know, I think, we're gonna get the feeling tonight what it will be. Any other points, questions?
Your worship, I certainly don't think this is a clear-cut decision tonight for council. I think this is a tough one.
Yeah.
You know, I certainly think that the improvements that the applicant made for the project, you know, from the initial one, which was 27 units. If you remember correctly, the initial application for the 27 unit ran vertical, if you will, on the property, which was very noticeable from the street. Mix it ran this way. Now with the other piece of property that they're looking to rezone, it allows them to push the building back horizontally along the back of the property, offering a much more frontage. So again, if you look at the IRAC's decision that they had supporting staff's rejecting the proposal, they they referred to not a lot of frontage, which again the developer appeased. They talked about surface parking, which again the developer has addressed. The one thing that the developer hasn't addressed, that was one of the big things with IRAC, is mass and scale, and how it fits into an existing neighborhood, which in R1. So again, I think this is tough because I think that the developers have ticked off some boxes. The question, I guess, be for council tonight is, did they tick off enough?
And Councillor Burt, that's why I really agreed with your deferral at that point to get these these 2 parties to the table, but it didn't happen because of COVID-19, and I know it was difficult, but I'm pro-development, but when we're looking at non-market housing, it's in a crisis situation, and you and I have had this discussion about inclusionary zoning. We have to pressure our provincial MLAs to amend the act to incorporate inclusionary zoning, because if we're going down the road and continuing trying to solve this problem, that's one way to do it, because it's a law in Ontario and BC.
Your worship, I'd just like to add quickly, I also received quite a few phone calls from seniors in the area, and basically saying, look, I'm getting up in years, I can't cut the grass literally the way I used to be able to. Well, although I enjoy the neighborhood and I've lived here most of my life, I like to live here most of my life, but not with the ownership of my home. I'd like to sell, and I like a nice place to go in and rent, and that's why they were phoning me about this particular proposal. I asked them why they didn't write, and they said, well, they didn't think it was in their best interest to go on paper with their feelings. So I said, I appreciate that, and took them for...
No, appreciate that, Councillor Duffy. I know you always do your homework.
Yeah.
Councillor McLeod.
Thank you very much. I just, times have changed, right? With COVID and the housing shortage, it's awful hard for me to understand how we can say no. We need to keep people working. If this economy is going to turn around, we need to keep people working. We need to, we can't say no to these projects, but they've been in the works for some time. A lot of the questions that the residents had, if you think you got trouble on Pine Drive, well, come on down to Beasley Avenue and watch what happens at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're lucky if there's not 12 cars in front of you to get out, because it's a hospital traffic, So, I think all areas of the city are going to grow, and it's going to continue to grow. But I can give you an example of my son here just recently tried to buy a house, because they've got 4 kids. And, they had to have a $40,000 down payment. So is there still a housing crisis in Charlton? Darn right there is, right? But we need more units, right? We need people to get, some of the older folks to get into these units so that the houses become a little more free, right? But this was only a 12-year-old home in Cornwall, to give you an idea. So, to me, I think we're, and with who the developer is, there's also, don't forget, they have lower rentals, right? So that maybe if these people move, some of them move into these, then the lower rental ones become available. So, you know, it's, I'm just, I can't approve the rejection. I think we need to keep going hard
Councilor Brown.
and build.
Thank you, Your Worship. And again, there's good points here tonight, but maybe what I'll do is I'll ask that Mr. Forbes, the manager of planning, maybe if he could just detail a little bit why planning staff are recommending more against this. I know it's in our package, but maybe Mr. Forbes can kind of elaborate just a bit more before the vote, just additional info.
Your Worship, you know, this property had a long history before I showed up. So it's just a matter of when I was brought into it, some of those recent applications, all I did was look at the previous history on the property. There had been a lot of consultation in that area over this particular property. So at any rate, based upon all of that consultation, we did have some knowledge in regard to where the community was. Some of that's older because it extends over back to 2012, so that's a long time. But the key thing is that it's a really low-density neighborhood, and it's not on the edge or the periphery of a residential area. That's usually where we can support increased density that can kind of fit into a lower density neighborhood. Our concern was this is right in the middle of a low density neighborhood, single family dwellings on either side. And the proposal that we dealt with in 2016 was 27 units. And you know, that's a large building. And if you know, seated beside its neighbors, it was a smaller lot, the 9, 11, and 13. It was a fairly significant structure. There was a lot of parking, and it overpowered the site. So the previous application for the townhouses was a way that's why it was supported by staff. It was felt that a smaller scale development could work in that locale. Again, because of its neighbors. So that's why, and this recent application, it's 41 units. You know, we felt we needed to be consistent with the previous assessment of the property. It had been to IRAC. They concurred with the assessment of staff that things like bulk, scale, massing all play a part. Those things are all entrenched as policies in the municipal plan.
The official plan.
Sorry, exactly, the official plan, and you know it indicates that density can be introduced into lower, less densely populated neighborhoods, but it needs to adhere to these policies. And in that case, when it went to IRAC, we felt that it wasn't adhering to those policies. So clearly, there is development potential on this property. The issue is, and I know it's difficult for everyone, including staff, is what is that number that could be created there that would be economically viable for the developer to pursue, but as well be a little bit more harmonious in the neighborhood that it sits. So that's the history of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So with this particular project, Alex, so by getting the extra lot, were they not able to answer that question that the front of the lot isn't going to be front loaded anymore? It's only going to be a 2-story. They've answered your parking problem because most of it's going to be underground. And at the back of the building, what are you going to do there anyway? I mean, you can't build back there anyway. So to me, I think they've done a good job of taking a lot that's kind of a real difficult one to deal with and have turned it into a reasonably good project.
Eventually, somebody's got to make a decision on it in regard to what is the future of that property. And again, it is long, and the issue is that there's single-family dwellings on either side of it. The additional lot does provide some more ability to utilize design on that site, but there's no other R3 in that entire neighborhood. I mean, there's nothing around it. But it is hard to retool these older neighborhoods. To Councillor Duffy's point, people in these low-density neighborhoods would like to continue to live in them, and it's really hard to retrofit them after the fact. But usually in a case when we're trying to introduce higher density, again, you're on the periphery, you're adjacent to some commercial, there's some kind of a transition you can make. But in this case, it's just that it's the 2 single-family dwellings on either side. This is a significant building in between them, and it'll be quite a difference. But again, it's got this long history. There is some development rights on the property.
Okay.
And it's not a straightforward application by any means.
No. That's why it's existed since 2012. Question?
Okay, question, Phil.
Question call. Counselor McLeod,
Opposed to reject.
opposed to reject, so that's no to the rejection.
Right.
Counselor Twill,
In favor.
Counselor Yankoff,
Not in favor.
Counselor Rivard,
This one has me really perplexed. I'm gonna oppose.
the rejection,
Yeah.
so that's yes or no.
I'd be no to the rejection here.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Cody,
In favor?
okay. Counselor Bernard,
It is a tough one. I'm going to oppose. I'm going to oppose.
you're going to oppose the rejection, so that's no to the rejection. Okay. Counselor McCabe, Counselor Duffy, no to the objection.
No to the objection.
And Counselor Ramsey.
In favor.
So what do you have there?
5-3.
5-3.
What were you?
I was,
Opposed. She
I
opposed.
was opposed.
Opposed. Greg's opposed. I'm opposed.
5-3.
5-3.
5-3, okay.
So the rejection has been accepted.
No.
No.
No,
Other-
No.
Sorry.
Opposed.
It's been,
Sorry.
it's been defeated.
So we have to send in, bring in another resolution. Sorry for that. So you have to turn that around.
Great moments in sports. TSA turning point. The defining moment.
So can you read it out there, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Worship. Your Worship, be resolved that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from low-density residential to medium-density residential located at 9 Pine Drive, PID 393322, amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning development bylaw from a single detached residential zone to the medium-density residential zone located at 9 Pine Drive, PID 393322, and consolidate 9 Pine Drive, PID 393322, with 11 to 13 Pine Drive, PID 393314, in order to construct a 41-unit apartment dwelling on the consolidated property, be approved subject to the signing of the development agreement, Your Worship.
Questions? Call. Get my list out here. Counselor McLeod,
In favor.
Counselor Twill,
No.
Counselor Yankoff,
In favor.
Counselor Rivard,
In favor.
Counselor Cody,
Opposed.
Counselor Bernard,
In favor.
Counselor Duffy,
In favor.
Counselor Ramsey,
Opposed.
that makes it 4-4 now.
No.
No.
I'm getting the numbers mixed up.
5-3, Your Worship.
It's the same, reverse.
It's one of these. I think
5-3.
these rejection resolutions.
Teach math at Prince Street?
Talk French. Tu parles français?
Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Bard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request for 2 variances to reduce, to bring the other 2 councillors back in the room, Your Worship.
Julie?
Yeah, please.
Julie?
Could you bring the Councilors Duran and Councilor McCabe?
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Bard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request for 2 variances to reduce the required flanking yard setback from 19.7 feet to approximately 10 feet, and to reduce the required lot frontage from 98.4 feet to approximately 94.1 feet to be approved. And 1 variance to reduce the required rear yard setback from 19.7 feet to approximately 10 feet be rejected in order to construct an 8-unit apartment building on the property, 2 of which would be affordable units for the property located at 385 Queen Street, PID 356923, Your Worship.
Can I get that, sir? Okay. Question? Or do you have a question there?
Yeah.
Councilor?
So, the developer, as of right, can construct 6 units. He's requesting 2 additional units, and he went seeking variances. I've been contacted by the residents, lifelong residents that are opposed to him getting 8 units. He gets the 8 units. He's already got 2 there. Now that gives him 10. That's in a very small Costello Lane. It's a very short street. It's a very narrow street. There's major concerns. The neighborhood feels that this would overwhelm them in terms of course, additional traffic. It's just too much. They're not really crazy about the 6 units, but the developer has the right to construct 6 apartments. So to go from 2 that's there now, dead, another 8 is a dramatic shift for that neighborhood. And once again, it's an older neighborhood. These are older neighborhoods, and they're not in favor of these massive developments. And when I say the word massive, if you go down and look at that neighborhood, it is massive. It's extremely massive. So it's just too much. I'm asking council to reject. He can build 6. I did have an opportunity to speak with the developer. I said, if you're entitled to 6, build the 6, do a good job, and try to work with the neighbors, and let's see how you get along. And I'm sure there's going to be other projects down the road, as opposed to, going for broke. So I'll be opposing this, and council would consider opposing it as well. Think about the lifelong residents that are living in this community and have lived there for a long time. Thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, so Your Worship, just so everyone knows, so the 6 units is an as-of-right build based on the zoning. Councillor Tweel's right. The 2 additional units that is being proposed by the developer are affordable housing units, which are allowed up to 20% bonusing for that reason. So again, by voting, again, I understand Councillor Tweel's concerns. At the same time, we're the developer's tapping into the 20% affordable housing bonus that we have a clause in. So I think it's certainly beneficial for we talk about our housing crisis. I think this is a good thing in that sense. Now, keep in mind too, Your Worship, I just finished a conference, online conference that I was supposed to go to in Houston, the APA planning conference, and a few of the speakers really spoke about cities that are facing housing crunches. And one of the things that they were adamant about is that the city has to be open for mixed-use development, being further density in established low residential neighborhoods. And the only way out of housing crunches is to allow for some of this type of development. And again, there was 3 speakers that spoke on this, and they were adamant, saying that if any city is in a housing crunch, the only way you're going to get out of it is by allowing some density, again, into low residential areas. And successful cities, have done this, and others have failed by pushing any kind of density outside of the area. So again, it's never easy to make these decisions, Your Worship, but we have a very popular town in Charlottetown City, and people want to move here, and again, we should be proud of that, but we need to meet the housing demand too, so.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Duran?
Thank you, Worship. You know, I listened to Councillor Tweel there, and I agree with him. On this development, you know, I think the provincial government will give you a bonus. It's not, I can build 6 and 2 can be affordable. I think if you build 4 and put 2 as affordable, you'd still get the program. So
Right.
I think the fallacy of saying that if we approve this, that 2 will be affordable and not the others. I mean, the developer can develop, you know, affordable housing as he wishes. I don't think he's tied to 8 units at a time. So, you know, I agree with Councillor Tweel. If it's for the neighborhood, you know, the developer could do his 6, and that's what I'll be supporting. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard?
Yeah, no, I echo Councillor Tweel. He represents the area, and that's the concerns that he's hearing. The developer will get 4 more units. He gets 6 in total, so I'd be fine with that. So
20% of 4, though, just to be clear, is
What's that, sir?
I said the 20% of 4. Just to be clear, I don't know if they're going to have those 2 units. I think the 6 to get to the bonus.
I think sometimes, though, when you look at the variances that they're looking for,
Yeah.
and one in particular is just huge. Like, I think sometimes we just pass these variances just like you snap a finger. These variances make an impact. Some of them, you know, when the variance is there for a reason, and a lot of times when we make these adjustments, we want to be sure what the impact's going to be. There's one particular variance in this resolution that's huge, and I hearing what Councillor Tweel had to say, plus having concerns for that, I would be rejecting this
Thank you.
resolution too.
So, Your Worship, just to
Councillor Duffy, did you have?
I will be supporting Councillor Tweel.
Thank you.
Councillor?
just to follow up.
Rivera?
So just so there's 3 variances, 2 minor variances that are approved. The major variance was rejected, or were proposed to be rejected. Even with those variances, the way they fall, would still allow for the 8 unit within. So the variance, that's the question I did ask at planning board from the developer, was that if the variances all weren't approved, being the big major variance being the one that's crucial, I thought, they indicate that they still be able to put the 8 units on without the variance, the major variance. So I don't know. Again, I'm just offering information.
Okay, sorry, you
No, you're fine.
finished, sorry?
Yeah, I'm good.
Councillor Tweel, is this the trainer house, the old trainer house?
That's right. Gary Trainer.
And
Okay.
the green space on the north
corner,
side, is that going to be part of, or is that a separate PID? Anyways, okay.
Yeah.
Your question, sir.
Well,
You got a
you know,
point to make?
and not only that, it also leads to the Does Per Se Park, which is a playground for the children. And it's already a tight squeeze there now. And that's another concern for the residents on Costello Lane, is the children that are, you know, up and down the street. That you know, 6 apartments is really gonna change the dynamic of that neighborhood. Another 2 is really gonna change it. And, you know, they're just, again, a resident across the street, lifelong resident. You know, she made it quite clear to me. She said, I don't want that. I said, okay, I got your message. And, you know, she articulated her concerns in a letter to the planning department. These are old neighborhoods. They can only take so much. Besides everything else that's going on in these neighborhoods, I mean, they can only take so much. So I think Councilor Drum put, you know, 6 units. He wants to go to affordable.
He can get
and
that.
apply to the province. You know, God bless him. I wish him all the best. And like I said to him, I was very honest with him. I said, you know, look, let's go with 6, and then there'll be other projects, and let's try to work on that.
So your question is, what is your question to him?
My question is, sir, is I don't know if it's a question or a statement, maybe both. Let's give these people a break and at least try to meet them halfway.
Councillor Rivera.
So, Your Worship, I guess my question to Mr. Forbes is there, can we defer this for a week and go back to the applicant and basically, I guess, tell them that it's council's wish that they come back and reduce it? If we reject this, my fear is that they have to wait 1 year before coming back with an application. I'm just wondering if there's a different way that we can negotiate with them and say, listen, here's what council would like to see, and see if there's any appetite on behalf of the developer to tame it down a little bit, but still offer for affordable housing units.
He has it right now, 6, though, correct?
Yeah,
What's that?
He has it as of right of 6 now,
yeah, you can build 6.
No, I know, I'm just,
right?
correct.
So we say, no, we build 6, that's it.
Your worship, I think that, you know, Councilor Rivard's comments is prudent because there's two things going on. There's a fairly significant variance that was turned down, and that there was a 10-foot variance to the side yard that was turned down, and we questioned whether he could even build the 8. So it may be a situation where if we meet with him, you know, to confirm this, because again, he has certain development rights. He has got 3 variances in here. You should either turn them all down if that's the situation tonight, or we work with him, and then he may realize that with the resolution tonight, with that major variance, that he's not going to permit it. He may feel that the 6 units is sufficient for the size of the building he's going to have left on the site.
Councillor, let's just, you're getting more information.
But it'd be,
Not a big issue. We're just getting more information, just defer it until we get more information.
the only reason why
Your 6 is gonna be there anyways.
Your worship, the only reason why I'm asking to defer is maybe there's an opportunity for the applicant to go back to the province and try to work out something where if they have, out of their 6 units, maybe 2 of those, like Councillor Durant had mentioned, become affordable housing. Because I'd hate to see affordable housing lost in the equation
No,
here
that's-
too. So
that's
it gives an
what I agree with.
opportunity
I
to
agree
go
with
back
affordable housing.
and talk to
Okay,
the
you moving it?
province. Yeah, I'll move to defer.
Okay,
Sure.
seconder? Councillor McLeod? So there's a deferral on the floor, any debate on the deferral? None? Councillor McLeod, yes for the deferral or no?
In favor of the deferral.
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Drawn? What's that?
No?
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Sure.
Councillor Bernard?
Sure.
Councillor McCabe?
Yes.
Councillor Duffy?
Yes.
Councillor Kevin
Yes.
Ramsey?
Yes.
And,
Okay, 9-1.
okay, just your worship, just follow up.
That's what we're putting here, sir. Just defer to
So
this.
Alex, the discussion be centered around the construction of 6 units.
We'll have the discussion with him, and it may have a bearing. If he doesn't agree, then I would like to prepare a memo to tell you, if he doesn't agree, there's a way that you should turn it down. And maybe those other 2 variances should be turned down as well. That's the way to deal with it, and then he'll have to readjust.
I'll
But
just tell him we'll prepare a memo.
Sorry.
But we will certainly meet with him, and we'll try to work that out. We'll try to bring back the best resolution we
For
can.
6.
Yeah.
Right, yep.
Okay.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Rivard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to decrease the rear yard setback requirement from 7.5 meters, or 24.6 feet, to 3.6 meters, or 11.8 feet, to allow for the development of a commercial office plaza and warehouse on the at the subject property located at John Yo Drive, PID 388249, be approved, Your worship.
Okay, this is not an easy, this should be an easy one. It's out in John Yo Drive. It's out in the, right off Contact Road. Need information on it?
This variance just keeps the 2 buildings in line, that's all.
Yeah.
I know it seems like a major variance, but the 2 buildings would be perfectly in line, just the
Call
way
the
this street
question.
works. Yep.
Call the
Question
question.
called.
Favor.
Okay, Councillor McLeod, yes. Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
In favor?
Councillor Drawn? In favor. Mayor Cody? In favor. Councillor Bernard?
Favor.
Councillor McCabe?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
Councillor Kevin Ramsey?
In favor.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Rivard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from concept planning area to industrial, and amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning development bylaw from the comprehensive development arc, our zone to the business park industrial M3 zone for the property located at Lot 19-1 Sherwood Road, PID 1107-200, be approved to proceed to public consultation, Your worship.
Questions called?
Question call?
Question.
Oh, you have a question or a question call?
Question.
Question, what's your question?
I'm just wondering, Your Worship, how will these public consultations move ahead with the restrictions we have in place? And I wonder why we're passing these now.
And Mr. Kelly, could you tell the council that we also have an appeal under 550 University Avenue because of a public consultation, correct?
I'm not sure that's the reason for the appeal, Your worship, other than there is an appeal in place, that's correct. But as we've had the public meetings, they'd have to be staged very planned-wise in terms of spreading people out in different rooms, having the broadcast as we're doing tonight for the staff outside, and we'd have to have different locations for people to be able to come in and speak and hear what council has to say. So they come here one at a time, as staff are doing now. And they would be cycled through the building.
So right now, what's the restrictions, 20?
Is it Mr. Kelly?
I believe,
It's 14, is it not?
15.
right, but we did have permission for council as it is this way, Your
We're
Worship.
special.
Your worship, has there been any amendments made through?
What's that?
I said, has there been any amendments made through the sitting of the House with regards to how public meetings are
I think
conducted?
the
'Cause I-
Greens want to sit until the end of the month.
Nothing yet, though.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's okay to pass them, whatever, but I think we need to talk
gonna
about
have
when
difficult-
we're gonna have them. I think, we need to hold off at least a month, if not two.
Yeah.
You're gonna have proper consultation.
It's hard to stall development, though, and at public meetings, I mean, again, we don't know how long this is gonna last, so, even though the Planning Act, it's a little bit gray, the question is are we still making it accessible to the public?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, Counselor, I'm just thinking on top of my head that, maybe we should look for booking a bigger place. Maybe we should look, there's rumors that phase 3 is supposed to go to 50 people. So maybe at least you wait till that.
You want to defer it until then, or just get it in the system and then?
You can get in the system, but I would defer the actual consultation till at least they move to 50 people. I mean, over at the Sheraton Hotel, there's been different meetings there. That place has been packed.
Yeah. We got the fire hall too. Got
Yeah.
a big
So, I
room
mean,
up there.
if some of these things are something that people want to talk about.
Wouldn't have to pay any money there, Mr. Kelly.
Anyway, I just wondered how we're gonna do it properly.
Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think what we're doing, and I agree with Councilor Bernard, is that we're just approving for a public consultation, but it doesn't have to happen tomorrow or next week or something like that. Yeah, I think once, and I agree with Councilor Bernard again, if we can find a bigger spot, we just gotta go to it. But what we're doing tonight is just that, we're approving that it's gonna go to a public consultation.
yeah, but if Your Worship, just want to follow up that, I mean, it's one thing to say it's just a public meeting, but again, when we look at with the window of opportunity for construction, it's not big with our winters being long, and so to suggest that it's only a public meeting, I mean, it's part of a process that leads to something greater, right? It's a means to an end. So yeah, I guess it's up to council to suggest, but again, there's no end in sight right now to COVID-19 and what's the restrictions are going to look like. So if we continue to stall on public meetings until we're allowed a room of 200, then we really could be stalling projects unfairly with a shortened construction season. So again, if the province is okay with moving in this direction, I guess maybe I may ask Mr. Kelly to just get some more clarity on it.
That's a good question, what he's asking, Councillor Bernard, because I think 550 University Avenue is being appealed because of the public meeting.
You're correct, Your Worship.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to halt everything until an appeal is heard 6 months from now, I mean, it's again,
Can't hold up the
and we can
No,
do that.
Just if I clarify, I'm not suggesting 6 months.
No.
I mean, rumor is it's gonna go to 50. I mean, if we have rinks facilities that don't have ice, like for example, so you could put a stage at one end and you could have the chairs plenty wide and you can still have area for people to speak.
Or go to the
I'm just
fire
saying that I think we might wanna look at that as opposed to just doing it by video or whatever. Some of these, some of this public consultation that we're looking for, we wanna receive it. And if it's limited to 15 or limited to 20, I mean, a lot of people are just not gonna bother coming. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's valid,
But
and we're not.
We're going ahead with the public consultation. Okay.
I was just gonna say, we need to offer both
Yeah.
services, right? The virtual plus an
Yeah.
area where people that
Real
doesn't
people.
have the ability
Yeah.
to come in and see it on a big screen and do their comments that way.
So you called the question?
Questions called?
Okay. Councillor McLeod?
In favor?
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
In favor.
Councillor Duran?
Favor?
Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor
Yes.
Bernard? Councillor McCabe?
Yes.
Councillor Duffy?
Favor.
Councillor Kevin Ramsey?
In favor?
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Bard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from institutional and employment to comprehensive plan area and amend Appendix G zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from an institutional I zone and business park industrial M3 zone to comprehensive development area CDA zone for the properties located at 115 Murchison Lane, PID 425892 and 691162 be approved to proceed to public consultation.
You want to give a little background there, Councillor, what we're getting into?
Yeah,
It's gonna be quite the development.
It's just a public meeting, your worship, to go to, but the plan is again, it's an institutional zone over there. They're looking to, the province is looking to do something different where, you know, it's a mixed use, so some institutional, some housing, and other options. So by switching from an institutional zone, which is very limited in what is allowable in that zone, they're switching to a CDA, which again, a comprehensive development agreement would allow the city to vote on what the development will look like, and any changes that may happen during the process, council has full discretion to vote on. So it just allows them for a number of different uses.
And if you look through your package, it's quite, very much an impressive development. Unbelievable.
It's not normal for developers to want to go to a CDA. They want to usually get out of a
No, I
CDA,
know.
but so it's good because it gives council full reins.
But Your Worship, and Councilor Rivera, it is a good example that this is going to be long-term. We'll start off doing the new hospital first.
Yep.
So this is something that, you know, and the zoning change is not going to impede on them starting the new hospital.
No.
It's something that could wait.
It's to replace Hillsborough Hospital.
Yes.
They're going to a campus.
Yeah, yeah. But that's, the hospital, they'll look to start relatively soon.
Yeah.
The campus part, it's going to take time.
Attitude.
So
Yep.
all I'm saying is there is time
Yeah, oh yeah.
to hold
lots.
off to have a proper public consultation.
Question, Bill?
You call the question there? Okay. Councillor McLeod,
I'm in favor.
Councillor Twill,
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff,
In favor.
Councillor Rivera,
In favor.
Councillor Duran, Deputy Mayor Cody,
In favor.
Favor.
Councillor Bernard, Councillor McCabe,
In favor.
Councillor Duffy,
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
Favor.
Okay.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Bard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to consolidate a portion of the property along Trainer Street, PID 388199, with 418 Trainer Street, PID 889873, be rejected, your worship.
Okay. Question there, Councillor Bernard?
Yeah,
Councillor Bernard is ready.
actually,
Always ready, your worship.
Councilor Rivera, I'm kind of wondering, so I read in the minutes, I thought I read in the minutes anyway, this thing was a as of right, and so I'm wondering why do we need to do a lot consolidation?
Sure, thank you, Councillor Bernard. So you're right, there's a portion of the property, which is just over an acre in size, that is, as of right, it's zone C2, which allows for this type of construction, but it's only a maximum as of right of 36 units. So what they're proposing on that parcel is two buildings, two 20-unit buildings, and then the lot consolidation really is the next piece over. It's a vacant piece of property that they're looking to put the additional 20 units for a total of 60. What that lot consolidation does for the people on Trainer Street is I mean, if we rejected it, 36 units would be as of right. But you'd leave a parcel of land open that would allow for the potential of traffic coming from the other parcel, the bigger parcel of land in behind, where the cottages currently sit now, if that's developed into to a commercial or to further housing, up to, I think it was 124 additional units could go back there. Then without blocking that portion off, you're potentially allowing traffic to exit as an exit point onto Trainer Street, which would be much more problematic. By allowing the lot consolidation and the additional 20 units, 22 in total, 24 in total, extra, then you'd be shutting that off and basically having that buffer in between anything that's developed in behind. Does that make any sense?
No.
I think.
There's my,
Yeah.
So there's two PIDs. There's a very large PID that's about 5 acres, which the cottages sit on right now, and it's not a perfect square. And then you have the another PID, which is smaller, which is just a bit over an acre. And again, that small PID allows for a as of right development of 36 units. What they're proposing
So
in
you
that,
want to, okay, so they're asking to consolidate within the other lot.
Correct.
To make
To-
it all one. And then there's no future development.
no, there's the potential for future development in behind. It's just a lot consolidation with that little corner piece that allows them to put an additional 20-unit apartment complex and basically shut off the road or any potential for a road through to down the road for future development. It could be commercial, could be further apartments off Lower Malpeck, you know, where the cottages currently sit now. So that's still a big PID. It's just a lot consolidation with a little corner piece to allow them to do this, to do second apartment or third apartment, sorry.
Okay, so if that happens, then what happens to the rest of the property?
That's some down the road, who knows? I mean, they can develop that into further housing. They can, whatever is allowable in the C2 zone.
Okay.
Could be commercial, could be a box store, who knows?
Okay.
Councilor McLeod had his hand up first.
So tell me about the entrance or exit that they use now for the cottages, that road. What's stopping them from future development using that?
Well, future development.
Yeah.
Well, again, on that big parcel, they're going to be expected, I'm guessing, to leave. But if the choice is still there on the bottom half,
Right.
then they could maybe gain access onto Trainer Street unless we close that off.
Right.
But the expectation, if we close it off, is that they're going to have an exit onto Lower Malpeck because
Right.
there's going to be no room to come off Trainer for any future
Oh,
development.
okay.
Right.
Okay. I
You know
see
what
what you're
I
saying
mean?
now.
That's
See
why.
what you're
That's
saying
why.
now,
Yeah.
And the cottages and the new request here are two separate owners, correct? It's not the same owners that own the cottage, they're looking to
Believe
do
you're
this
right.
consolidation.
Correct.
Councilor Duffy,
Thank you, Your Worship.
the floor is yours.
I was out to visit this site a couple of times, see what's going on there. It basically is a request to consolidate two lots together, correct? That's the request. There's a lot of paperwork done, a lot of write-up done here. What disturbs me the most about it, and it doesn't really keep me awake at night, is the fact that I don't think I've ever heard of a lot consolidation being rejected at city council here. I can't remember in all my times on planning board and off planning board, but on council, and a lot consolidation being rejected. But I do know that as a highway commercial C2 zone, it's a pretty permissive piece of land. I mean, when you consider all the zonings you go through as you work yourself to highway commercial and see all the permitted uses in those zones you're working yourself through, and then you land at the highway commercial, and it goes back to the R4 zone, the industrial zone, and I have the uses listed here, like a cannabis shop, or a cannabis store, a fire station, a funeral home, lodging house, whatever that may be. Like, there's a lot of things in there. I see the biggest argument against the consolidation, zeroing in on the consolidation, was the traffic, the fear of the detrimental traffic present that would cause in the subdivision called the Trainer subdivision, I think, I'm not sure. But yet there's a traffic study done by a traffic expert, and it was passed, and he or she said that there was no issue, there would be no issue because of this development with traffic, and it was passed to our manager of public works and our chief of police, and they both agreed. So I don't know, like, when you look at what could go in there without the consolidation, and what the pros experts said in the field about traffic, I won't be supporting this rejection either. Thank you, Your Worship.
Question called? So in support of the rejection, yea or nay, Councilor McLeod?
Opposed.
Councilor Twill?
Favor.
What's that?
In favor.
Councilor Yankoff?
I'm opposed to this resolution.
Councilor Yvette?
I'm opposed.
Councilor Durant?
In favor?
Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councilor Bernard?
Opposed.
Councilor McCabe?
Opposed.
Councilor Duffy?
Opposed.
Councilor Ramsey?
Opposed.
So it's 7-3.
Your worship, now that you're going to read a new motion, I just offer you this opportunity at this time. Mr. Kelly will read the alternative, and this is direction that you can give to me, that if you want to, if the next motion is for approval, you could put in the signing of a development agreement to ensure that only residential traffic is allowed out to Trainer. That's really what this application is about. There is a trade-off between some more density going on to Trainer, but it's preventing the higher flow of commercial traffic in the front potentially coming in that direction.
Who's going to police it?
Pardon?
Who's going to police it?
Well, the reality is if there's a driveway there, that's if you want it. If you just put on the end of this, approved subject to the signing of a development agreement, if that's the direction you want to give me, we'll make sure that that is tidied up. And there is another thing for tree buffer. Yeah.
Are we gonna get her all in tonight, Your Worship?
Well, we're going to definitely have to ask for an extension. That has to be unanimous.
Well, we can be back again.
After planning.
I'm sure staff would be happy.
Not much else in it.
What? Yeah, just keep the questions and the comments.
Just keep
and
going.
Preambles down to a minute.
Well, your worship. Now's not the time.
No, let's just,
Keep it going.
you want to read it there, sir?
Your worship, moved by Councillor Rivard, second by Councillor Yankoff. Be it resolved that the request to consolidate a portion of the property along Trainer Street, PID 388199, with 18 Trainer Street, PID 889873, be approved, subject to a final PIN survey plan and signing of a development agreement, Your worship.
Questions called.
Questions called. Okay. Councilor McLeod, yea or nay?
In favor.
In favor. Councilor Twill.
Opposed.
Councilor Yanko.
In favor.
Councilor Rivera.
In favor.
Councilor Duran.
Opposed?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
Opposed.
Councilor Bernard.
Favor.
Councilor McCabe.
In favor.
Councilor Duffy.
In favor.
Councilor Ramsey.
In favor.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Byrd, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request for a lot consolidation at 11 Regis Duffy Drive, PID 1047885, and Regis Duffy Drive, PID 1098193, be approved, subject to a pinned final survey plan and a new perimeter deed description being registered describing the outer boundaries of the consolidated parcels, Your worship.
Thank you, sir.
Questions called.
Question call. Councilor McLeod.
In favor.
Councilor Twill.
In favor.
Councilor Yanko.
In favor.
Councilor Rivera.
In favor.
Councilor Duran. In favor. Mayor Cody. In favor. Councilor Bernard.
Favor.
Councilor McCabe.
In favor.
Councilor Duffy.
In favor.
Councilor Ramsey.
In favor.
Thank you.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Byrd, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, resolved that the request to renew the encroachment agreement dated September 15th, 2017 until the end of 2024 season for an outdoor patio on the city right-of-way for the Red Water Rustic Grill at 123 Grafton Street, PID 342311, be approved, subject to the signing of an encroachment agreement and an annual building permit applications, and further, that the council direct staff to deal with the renewal of the encroachment agreement in the future as per the resolution of council dated June 13th, 2005, Your worship.
Question call.
Questions called.
Question call. Councilor McLeod.
In favor.
Councilor Twill.
In favor.
Councilor Yanko.
In favor.
Councilor Rivera.
In favor.
Councilor Duran.
In favor?
Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councilor Bernard. Councilor McCabe.
In favor.
Councilor Duffy.
In favor.
Councilor Ramsey.
In favor.
10-0. That's it, sir?
Yes, Your worship.
Hope so.
Okay, next report. Quite fast here. Human Resources. Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead, sir. Councilor McCabe, you're next.
I am. Do I need to wait for Mr. Moy? Guess not. I can start. The
He
Human
heard you. He
Resources
said, "Uh-oh."
Communication and Administration Committee last met on May 20th. The minutes are in your package. We do have 2 resolutions for your consideration, one being the flexible hours of work-based policy, And the second is the diversity and inclusiveness policy, which would replace our current creating an inclusionary, I can't say it. I'm tired, workplace policy. John had sent out both policies with the changes and stuff made today, so hopefully you had a chance to look at it, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions?
Oh,
No? Okay, any resolutions?
Yes, Your Worship, there are two.
Okay. We'll vote those right now?
By Councilor McCabe, second by Councilor Yankoff. Resolved that the City of Charlottetown accept the amendments to the flexible hours of work policy as per attached document effective June 8th, 2020, Your Worship.
Question?
Question, comment?
Okay.
In favor.
Councilor McLeod? Yay. Councilor Twill?
in favor?
Councilor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councilor Rivera?
In favor.
In favor?
Councilor Cron? Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
In favor.
Councilor McCabe and Councilor Ramsey.
In favor.
8-0. This one's
Your Worship, moved by Councilor McCabe, second by Councilor Yankoff. Resolved that the City of Charlottetown accept the amendments to the diversity and inclusiveness policy as per the attached document effective June 8th, 2020, Your Worship.
okay. Question?
Question called.
Okay. Councilor McLeod?
In favor.
Councilor Twill?
In favor.
Councilor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councilor Rivera?
In favor.
Councilor Duran? Deputy Mayor Cody? In favor. Councilor McCabe?
In favor.
Councilor Ramsey?
In favor.
Anything else there,
No, Your Worship.
Council? That's good.
Good job.
Good job there,
job,
Councilor McCabe, as always.
Yep.
Here comes the big report.
Comes Big Frank.
1 second. Councilors Bernard. Yep, 1 second.
And Councilor Duffy, Your Worship.
Absent.
Hi, huh? Let's get here. Get tired now.
Okay, sir.
That's the situation.
Yeah. Okay. Frank Quinn, you want to present your report there with Councilor Twill? All
Sure.
report?
The report is in your package. Just a couple of highlights before we get to our resolution for council's consideration. As you know, major renovations to City Diamond. With City Diamond, the field is being renovated. Island Construction, no, Island Coastal, I believe, is there today. It's down at the park, and work is underway. The lights have been taken down, and once the field is graded, new fill and properly graded, particularly the field where it wasn't safe in previous years. Councilor McLeod, you can attest to that. And as a result of the major renovations to City Diamond, we thought it'd be advantageous now to look at the history of City Diamond and have that history written. A lot of great ball players that played at City Diamond. Think about the City Fastball League. Councilor Duffy, I did talk to the former mayor over the weekend. I did ask, second base, right?
And shortstop,
I'm sorry, but it was mostly second?
depending where the ball went,
Pardon?
depending where the ball went.
Okay.
You're an outfielder.
Councilor Duffy, I asked Tex,
Oh,
what,
yes?
what, it wasn't the Tackroom Seabees.
No. Herbie Smokies.
That's what he said, Herbie Smokies. That's what Mike Duffy played with, Herbie Smokies. Anyway, Councilor Duffy, you know the importance of City Diamond. Spent a good portion of your life there, and Tex did say, and I agree, because I watched many of your games, he said Mike Duffy was a hell of a ball player.
Really?
I agree.
Really?
A hell
Are
of
you
a
looking
ball-
for something there, Councilor?
Really? Yeah, what are you
What are you looking for?
Oh, no,
Councilor?
just stating the
Just give me a
facts.
report.
Yeah.
You'll be here till 9 o'clock.
2 trucks of asphalt for that fella.
I'm looking at 6. Anyway, but no, we're very excited. We're very excited about the renovations to City Diamond. We also talked about recognizing some people that have achieved a lot of success. Billy McGuigan, grew up in Despersey Crescent. We're going to look to do something to honor Billy, a local boy who's done extremely well. 3 national awards as Coach of the Year across Canada, Major Junior A, so that's a remarkable achievement. Joel Ward played hockey, University of Prince Edward Island. We want to form a partnership with Joel Ward to come back here when time permits to go into our schools, Colonel Gray, Charlottetown Rural, junior high schools, and talk about challenges and some of the difficulties he had as a player, but to never give up. When Joel left UPEI, I think he started down to the East Coast League and worked his way up and never gave up. He's a tremendous role model, and I think it'd be really phenomenal to form that partnership with Joel Ward. He's a great ambassador for the game. With that in mind, I'll answer any questions. We have one resolution tonight for City Council's consideration. Thank you.
Councillor Duffy, did you want to speak about your baseball career, or did you want to add
Please
some
don't, Your Worship,
information?
enough time.
I'll leave that to others, Your Worship.
For another night.
Councillor Twill, thank you very much for your report. I notice in your minutes, you're talking about a washroom agreement with,
Yes.
down around the waterfront there. $18,000, that's an awful lot of money for a washroom per year, when you consider it's only probably open 4.5, 5 months a year. I mean, we're talking $3,000, $3,500 a month for a washroom, and it's on private property. What, have we given any consideration to building one on the Commemorative Park area with lots of land? And I think we could pay for itself in a year. But I'm not a plumber.
Councilor Duff, you raise a good point. That's something that we discussed. I think the agreement for this year, Frank, if I'm correct in saying, is for 1 year. It's a partnership with CADC, and
It's 2 years.
I'm sorry, two? Two, I'm sorry. I thought, oh, yeah, you advocated one, we went two. That's right. So it is for 2 years. There's a tremendous amount of people down in that, down on the waterfront. I think the reason why it was a little more was because of staff's commitment to clean the washrooms in the evenings as well. With so much traffic to that washroom, there was trouble previously, and we wanted to make sure, despite the fact, not even taking into consideration COVID-19, is the cleanliness of the washrooms. And now with people that are conducting business on the floating docks, it's just phenomenal the amount of people that are down there. So you're correct. We do have to look at alternatives and options, and that's why it was only for 2 years.
But I think public washrooms would be the.
Yeah.
This isn't private. This isn't a private building on private land.
It is, but
Right. And they're serving food there, right?
Yeah.
So they're required to have something like that?
And the boaters use it? The
they
boaters
have
use it?
no.
Pardon?
The boaters, yeah, they can use it.
Yeah, the business that we formed the partnership with is
Upstairs.
upstairs, and they have their own washrooms. So this is a partnership that we formed with that particular business, boaters, and CADC. I mean, the total cost, Frank, can you give the total cost of the washroom?
I don't have that number right off, Your Worship.
Yeah.
Okay,
But it's been this goes back to about 2003.
yeah. So
It's a
we will
whole
provide
deal.
more information to council, but you're quite right. We need to look at an alternative. We've got to weigh the cost and see what the cost-benefit analysis tells us. So,
Well, I think it's far better to have
yeah,
a nice setup, and, I mean, surely to heavens, we have public works people on that could sweep by there in the evenings.
I
And
know.
I mean, they do it in campgrounds. I don't imagine we couldn't pull it off in one little
no,
building. Anyway,
we want to make sure that
Yeah.
where we build it,
yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's a 2-year agreement. Any other questions to that? Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councilor Twill, I just, I see your resolutions coming up here, and I'm wondering, like, you know, we discussed a splash pad earlier on in the year, and that was changed to this rink out in Bomber Callahan Park.
Yeah.
I've been asking for boards and an outdoor rink for 4 or 5 years now. we had agreed on the splash pad, it was changed. Now this expenditure, I think the splash pad was around 80 to 100. This has gone to 175,000. There's examples of like a parking lot in Mulberry or pathways in Centennial that haven't been done, haven't gone out to tender, as I know. And how come this is fast-tracked to start now instead of those projects that we've been waiting for 2 years for?
Councilor Twill.
Okay, well, thank you. I don't know what the total cost is for a splash pad, to be honest with you.
We're gonna get that.
Councilor Drop, yeah, we're working on that. But in all honesty, during the budget process, Councilor for the ward felt that the outdoor rink would be much more popular, much more advantageous, and there'd be a lot more usage. The history of the outdoor rink in Hillsborough Park is we had a private citizen for a number of years. 22 years. A very respectful man, Gordy Griffin, who someday I believe we need to honor because of what he's done for that neighborhood and that community. He would flood that ice. I think he would even light it. Kind of reminds me when I used to visit Mr. McLeod when I was younger, when he had the lights in his backyard, the clothesline. And we played hockey there on the ice. So that's why Mr. Griffin could not provide that venue anymore. You know, it's difficult for him now. So the council felt that splash pad, yeah, but the outdoor rink with the boards be much more popular. Be a lot more usage. Be able to use it 365 days a year. Be able to play not only hockey and skate during the winter time, but be able to play ball hockey and other sports during the summer. So I don't know, I'm trying to capture it as best as I can. I did indicate to you, Councilor Duran, that once this project was completed, that this particular project would be the model for other outdoor rinks with boards throughout the city of Charlottetown. And I did indicate to you that, and I'm full support of working with you and the committee to be able to provide an outdoor rink with boards in your community, because you have been consistent over the last 4 or 5 years, and I made that commitment to you on the phone. I made it to you at the committee level, and I continue to make it to you here tonight in front of all members of City Council. So I think it's a good project. I see it, again, as the model, as the blueprint. I know Mr. Cody's looking at me because he's probably wanting one too. So it's my aim and objective is to work with all members of council to have, yeah, I know, Terry, we'll work with you too, to have rinks with boards throughout the city of Charlottetown. That's what the communities want, nice recreational facilities to keep people in their neighborhoods. I heard that said in the last 6 weeks. So we're going to see what we can do to keep people in their neighborhoods and provide those venues and facilities.
Councilor Cody and I will split one.
Stay close to home.
Okay.
Thank you for answering that, and I agree 100% with you. So these projects have been waiting for 2 years. How come they're not going up to tender? Like
Pardon me?
For the parking lot up in Mulberry and the walkways in Centennial. Like we've been waiting for 2 years. This came out of nowhere. This comes into the capital budget, you know, and all of a sudden we're streamlined here with a resolution to go ahead, which I understand, and you fully explained it, right?
Yeah.
So how come, you know, we've been waiting for the tenders for these projects to go out and they're not going out?
Frank, can you
I
answer
asked
that?
that last month.
No, you didn't. No,
Frank?
Mr. Quinn? Frank?
Your worship, right now, those other, the asphalt project and a number of other projects, we're working on the tender documents right now with the engineering company. So we're grouping a lot of projects together. If you have a similar project like asphalt, you group them together because you get a better price. So right now we're working with the engineering company to get the tender document, the design done, and the tender document.
Oh, okay.
And it will be out in the near future.
That's great. I just don't want to be delayed another year.
No,
That's
sir.
why we started early, so.
No, sir.
I'll be quiet,
Okay.
and that's
No.
great for that
No,
explanation. Thank you.
No,
Want
I,
to read it off there, Mr. Kelly?
And, no,
Yeah, go ahead there,
I
sir.
just want to comment, I thank Chair Tweel for those comments. I do want to add, though, Your Worship, and I have the minutes here, February 6th, when council met to go over the capital budget.
Yeah.
And everyone's here. Alana was away in Australia, but she participated electronically.
I was away.
Works manager led line item by line item. Parks and Rec manager led line item by line item. The utility manager, line item by line item.
Yeah.
And then after that, we went into open session, and we passed $3.4 million for Parks and Recreation, along with $14 million for Public Works. We passed the capital budget. It was all reviewed by everybody.
So Councilor Yankoff and I were both missing for that meeting.
What's that?
I wasn't here either for that.
No, you were right.
But I was here too.
You share electronic.
Oh, were you?
Sure,
But I was not
electronic.
here.
I was here.
Yeah, no, she called in from Australia, which is
Where
great
were
because
you?
of the time difference of
Ottawa.
7 hours. So kudos to you.
Here's conference.
But on the other side of it, if people don't know, the demographics in Hillsborough Park, a ton of kids, ton of kids. We have 2 youth groups that are usually full. Gordy Griffin last winter, not able to do the rink, and he always looked after the kids that wanted to play hockey, and the city rink looked after those who wanted to skate and so on. So this facility, and it's funny you mentioned Gordy Griffin's name, because I was going to be asking council at some point here if we could have permission to name it the
Yeah.
Gordy Griffin Multipurpose Facility.
Leave that for another meeting?
Well, I
Want
mean,
to do it now?
might as well do it now. I mean, it's brought up.
Or do you want to send it back to the
what we
committee?
want to do, is we want to honor him
I do.
in a formal way,
Yep.
so.
Let's send it back to the committee.
We'll
Parks
do
and Rec?
we'll do
Sure.
it.
Sure.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
You got my word, we'll do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Giving you word a lot tonight here, Mr.
It's a strong
That's
word.
good.
What's that?
Councilor Kelly, do you want to read out the resolution?
Mr. Worship, moved by Councilor Trio, second by Councilor Bernard, that per the recently advertised tender for outdoor rink, Bomber Callaghan Park, the City of Charlottetown accepts a bid of $139,930, HST excluded, from WM&M 1993 Limited, and that the amount from Coles Associates Limited in the $11,200, HST excluded, for the engineering, professional fees, and service during post-construction be accepted, and that these amounts are expensed to the approved 2020-2021 Parks and Recreation capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Questions called.
So, Mr. Kelly, like in the paving, we had HST included, and this one we don't. Do we have a standard procedure for tenders?
It appears that it is different times, Your Worship, so the answer would be no, but we'll try to standardize it.
Question called. Councilor McLeod? Oh, question?
Yeah, I just
Oh,
had a
go ahead,
comment.
sorry.
I mean, when it was said that everyone agreed to the capital budget, that's true. The capital budget was 100,000. This came in at 140,000, 40% over budget. I'm in favor of outdoor rinks. Don't get me wrong. I think there's an outdoor rink in that area. It'd just be nice to spread out the resources throughout the city. It's 140,000 for an outdoor rink. Like, is that a concrete pad and boards? Like, what are we getting here?
Thank you, Councilor Cody. What it is, it's an outdoor rink with boards. Frank, is it concrete?
So, Your Worship, the general requirements, they include all the site work, the asphalt paving. It also includes.
Your Worship, on a point of order, you need to extend the meeting.
So we have to call.
I'll move to extend.
Moved, second by Councilor McLeod. Councilor McLeod, yay. Councilor Twill.
Yay.
Councilor Yankoff. Councilor Rivard.
Sure. No,
Councilor Cron.
yes.
Deputy Mayor Cody. Councilor Bernard. Councilor McCabe.
Yeah.
Councilor Duffy.
Yes.
Councilor Ramsey, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you,
So,
Worship.
how many minutes do we have before that? Anyway,
10.
it's, we're here till 10.
Go
No,
ahead,
you
Frank.
got 10 minutes.
Go ahead,
I'm
Frank.
looking at 10 minutes.
Go ahead, Frank.
Sorry,
Okay.
Frank.
All right, Your Worship. Yeah, so the actual, it includes like all the general requirement work, all the site work, It's asphalt paving. There's also landscaping involved. There's also some concrete work because the actual boards are put into concrete. It includes fencing. It includes some testing that's required for it as well. So it's, if you think of McCrae Rink, it's an updated, modern version of McCrae outdoor rink. So and it also, you know, that the water properly drains off the rink, but also that the water will actually stay in the rink when you're actually flooding it in the in the winter months. So at the time when $100,000 was put out there, it was a really rough guesstimate, and I think they were looking at it, okay, once you're designing this, you have to upgrade all the aspects of it, and now that we have a really good realistic quote amount, or an amount on what it would cost to build an outdoor rink, if you're gonna do this in the future as well.
Councilor Cody, and as I said earlier, this will be the model. This will be the model and the blueprint for other outdoor rinks with boards and all of the prerequisites that Frank outlined for other neighborhoods in the city. That'll be the model.
Yeah, no, and I can appreciate that. I guess, like I say, it'd just be nice to spread out the resources.
Well,
throughout
you
the
have my
city.
word, we're gonna do that. We are gonna do that, because I'll tell you what, we wanna make sure that we have these venues and facilities throughout the city of Charlottetown. I know they'll get a lot of usage, and that's what we're gonna do. That's gonna be the game plan.
Okay. Councilor Duffy.
Just a quick question, Your Worship. It's kind of odd, isn't it, Mr. Quinn, that you're building a rink, an outdoor rink with an asphalt base? The black attracts the heat, and if you're trying to keep ice, I've never seen an outdoor rink on asphalt, but I haven't seen all outdoor rinks.
There's one over in Stratford, it's blue.
Blue one's McCray Drive.
Blue.
Blue asphalt?
They paint over the asphalt blue, so it.
Geez, that'd be as bad as black, wouldn't it?
I think that's for pickleball.
Well, you have yourself a splash pad.
Thank you, Your Worship.
What's McCray Drive?
They have asphalt.
Black?
Yep.
Draws the heat. Trying to make
I
ice.
think part of this, that they're gonna paint it, or?
Yes, Your Worship, it's something that we did have in there that we were going to paint it because at some time, but since we were trying to reduce the budget, that we decided not to paint it this time. The one at McCrae is asphalt, and you can quite easily add the paint at a later date if you decide to do it. And usually it is an off-colored blue or gray-white colors, what the actual.
It's a light blue over in Stratford.
It's light blue over there. They went with their town color, probably.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Question there, Councilor McLeod?
No, I'm good to go.
Yea or nay?
I'm in favor.
Councilor Twill?
Favor.
Councilor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councilor Riverd?
I'm in favor.
Councilor Durant?
Favor.
Mayor Cody?
Favor.
Councilor Bernard?
Favor.
Councilor McKay? Councilor Duffy?
Favor?
Councilor Ramsey?
Favor?
Carried. Another one there, sir? Is that it? Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Frank. The next report, there it is. Two chiefs. Chief McDonald, Chief Smith. Councilor Duran, do you want to
Sure. Try to
introduce
very
your
quickly
report?
here. The Protective Emergency Services Committee met on May 26th. The minutes are included in your package. A couple of highlights is the vehicle ventilation system in Station 2 is purchase order has been issued, so hopefully we get that in quick. The overhead doors replacement purchase order has been issued, so hopefully we get new doors in Station 1. You'd be pleased to know, Councilor Twill, to repurpose the school resource officers position from the end of May until September 1st to highway traffic enforcement. So hopefully we'll get some more boots on the street, looking after enforcement there. We have a number of resolutions coming forward specifically to clean up properties. So at this time, I'd like to mention to anybody that's listening that, there's a bylaw here in the city to keep your property clean and organized, and we ask you to help us out by doing so, which would save us a lot of time. So if you could consider that, that'd be great. And any questions on the resolutions I have forward, I'll try to answer them as best I can.
Councilor Twill.
Okay, my first couple of questions is the Fire Chief, Randy McDonald.
Okay.
Chief McDonald, as you know, with that fire on Harley Street, with that particular building, there was firewalls, I understand it, but there was no sprinkler system up in the attic. And I indicated to you and Fire Inspector Winston Bryant that I'm strongly in favor of sprinklers and having a sprinkler a bylaw. So can you please tell me where we're at, give me a status report? As you know, I was a strong supporter in my discussions with you at that time, and I wanted to bring it up to see where we're at with respect to a bylaw with sprinklers.
Your worship,
Brandy?
Councilor Twill, we're dealing with that issue through the revision of the Fire Prevention Act. Fire Prevention Bylaw, I'm sorry.
Okay.
What we've done is I've looked at other jurisdictions across the country, mainly BC, they have a lot of sprinkler bylaws. And I've taken that information and I've gone back and we've discussed with the staff, and right now we're writing revisions to the bylaw. So it will be included in that revision.
Okay, and that will ensure that there's no more disparities and no more discrepancies in that our firefighters will know that going into, the newer buildings, not so much the older ones, but the newer ones that are being built, at least have that assurance that those sprinkler systems are not only installed, but in good working order.
Yeah, it's my ambition to come back to council committee as a whole and explain the bylaw revision at that time. And make sure you have a firm understanding of what is actually wrapped up in the bylaw and what the sprinkler systems do, and answer all of your questions. So at least you have a comfortable feeling going in when you vote on the bylaw revision.
Good. Thank you, Chief.
Sure. Any other questions? No? Chief said earlier, I just want to thank the police services for an excellent job on Friday night in providing professional presence and maintaining peace and good order. It was well executed. Thank you from all of us. Oh, question?
Yeah. I'm just wondering, and I don't know if Councilor Drawn can't answer, we'll get the information later, but I'm just wondering, or maybe CAO. So there's quite a few of these unsightlies in the binder tonight, and I'm just wondering, what is the percentage of recovery that we get when we go in and do these unsightlies? Do we get 100%? Do we get 50%? Because this is, it's usually a cleanup and proper disposal at the owner's expense.
That's right.
So I'm just wondering, do we recover it all?
So we would lien the property, council, but I'll find out the information for you.
Okay.
Sure. Mr. Kelly gets the money.
Your worship.
Want to go?
Yes, Your worship. I just want to say that we did consolidate 7 motions into one, so we're trying to expedite the things. So moved by Councillor Drawn, second by Councillor Ramsey, that the Public Works Manager be authorized to cut grass, remove any garbage and other materials or debris, clean up and properly dispose of same at the owner's expense at the following properties located at 74 Douglas Street, PID 361345, 82 Kent Street, PID 342196, 578 Upper Queen Street, PID 703447, 580 Upper Queen Street, PID 757633, 594 to 596 Upper Queen Street, PID 777680, 595 Upper Queen Street, PID 7321273, 598 to 600 Upper Queen Street, PID 763359, 602 Upper Queen Street, PID number 762179, 604 Upper Queen Street, PID 835827, 70 to 72 Douglas Street, PID 361352, 35 Westwood Crescent, PID 703447, 41 Westview Drive, PID 373944, and 56 Kenwood Circle Street, PID 841387, in accordance with the terms of the Dangerous Hazards Unsightly Bylaw of the City of Charlottetown, Your Worship.
Got them all there? Wow. Running on Queen Street on that, do you? Okay.
Alvin, I think he's got the
Can I
radar at
make a
Spring
comment
Park Road.
before we vote? Just because we put them all together? Because I took a little drive yesterday too, and I would say my opinion, 2 and 9 of these would be justified unsightly based on what our criteria is. I'd love to know what the criteria of unsightly, you know, there's loving dandelions, you can tell me the person's not home or whatever, but there were lots of properties, if you drove around Charlottetown, that the grass was too high yesterday. So I just would love to know, when we're going in with unsightly properties to go in to do this to someone's home, is there, I know they go and visit, and, because I saw our city of Charlottetown in a couple of houses, but it's a lot of unsightlies, and in my opinion, I don't know, there's probably worse properties that would qualify for unsightly.
Can you answer that, Councilor Duran, or?
Not really.
Chief?
Probably pass it on to the chief there.
I think it's in the bylaw.
Thank you, Worship. Ordinarily, we would go out and contact the property owners ahead of time, ask them to do the cleanup. If they don't do it, then we come with the resolution.
Yes.
So we'll reach back to them again once the resolution's passed. The resolution stays in place for a period of time.
Okay.
So if it doesn't conform after it's been cleaned, we can still go back again. That's why it's there.
Okay, that makes better sense, thank you.
And I know if I stay it, like, sometimes drive by, you don't really see the issue, but.
Oh, I looked in the backyard.
Yeah.
I saw it
Yeah.
there. The two that were
Some of these,
unsightly was in the backyard.
Some of these foundations falling, caving in one corner, this type of thing. I think one we had recently, Belen and I had done, was, he had propane tanks stored inside the building. His whole life was inside this building, which is against fire code, fire law. So that's why a lot of times they come in and do this.
Well, and I
It's just
think
not the
there's some
grass,
issues
right?
still with wastewater, like trying to figure out
Yeah.
whose responsibility it is to pick up
Yeah.
garbage, because we have a lot of garbage around Charlottetown. Joe's Gibbs Park looks like the new dumping ground. If you need a
Yeah.
place to sit, you'll find a couple good chairs up there by the park to watch your kids play, where people are dropping their stuff. So we have to get better organized with who's gonna pick up that stuff, yeah.
Councilor Ramsey? Do you have a
Yeah,
question?
to Councillor McCabe, there, like, a lot of these are in my ward, and they're university students, and when they get shut down, like the landlord or the students, when they're leaving there, they just dump everything inside the road and all that, so. like,
Right.
that's not fair for the neighbors going down to
100%.
their homes down around the corner, because they have to drive down this stuff, so this is one of the things
Okay. Question?
to move advice.
Question call? Okay. Councilor McLeod?
In favor.
Councilor Twill?
Favor.
Councilor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councilor Rivard?
In favor.
Councilor Duran? Cody?
In favor.
Yes.
Councilor Bernard? Councilor McCabe?
In favor.
Councilor Duffy?
In favor.
Councilor Ramsey?
Favor.
Okay, 10-0. Got a number there, sir?
Your worship, moved by Council Drawn, second by Council Bernard, that the city of Charlottetown accepts the quote of MD Charlton Company for the supply of conducted energy weapons in the amount of $30,056.40, taxes included, shipping extra, and that this amount be expended to the approved 2020-21 capital budget, your worship.
Question? Councilor McLeod?
No, I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Question?
In favor gets through. In favor.
Councilor Twill?
All right, got it?
Councilor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councilor Rivard?
In favor.
Councilor Duran?
In favor.
Yes. Councilor Bernard?
Yes.
Councilor McCabe?
Favor.
Councilor Duffy?
In favor.
Councilor Ramsey?
In favor.
10-0.
Your worship, moved by Council Drawn, second by Council Bernard, that the city of Charlottetown accepts the quote of Absolute Traffic Services for the supply of 8 Evolution 12-speed signs in the amount of $31,224.80, taxes and shipping included, and that this amount be spent to the approved 2020-2021 capital budget, your worship.
Do have a question?
Yeah, you do have a question, sir?
I do. So,
You don't want to call the question, you want to give it.
no, I want to ask a question, yeah. So, thanks, Councilor Drawn, for your report. Just a question on, do we know where these are going? Are they mobile units or are they in the ground? Are they movable? Those types of questions?
Yeah, they would be movable, I assume.
Yeah, Your worship, they can be moved from fixed mount poles, so they can be moved around or trailered. But the idea is we can put them in and working in concert with Public Works, is we can fix them into different areas and move them off the poles.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's the, would it be the police committee that would, kind of sanction as to where they go?
We would look at areas that would come in asking us to do it, and our technical services person would move them around. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Councilor Bernard?
I'm just wondering, Councilor Do we know, do these collect any data, or these just show the speed?
No, these will collect that as well.
Okay, they won. And I will say, I was pretty pleased to hear the other day, our cameras, I guess, when they monitor the cameras at certain intersections, they can tell how many cars went through it, they can tell how many didn't stop the stop signs, they're able to read the plates, get a hold of the person, so it certainly looks like it helps in the issues we're having with a lot of people running stop signs and so on.
Yeah.
I know, I've been concerned of in a couple of intersections that I passed on, and it was great to get the data back. How many cars went through going north, how many went south, how many come east, how many didn't stop the stop sign, and they can use that data to be able to set up patrols and set them up.
The system doesn't give us it automatic, but we monitor it with, currently we have a member that's on light duty, so we've got him assigned to do that, so that's where we're getting that data from, but yeah.
Well, it was great that he sent it to me.
The system pulls the stuff together and he can, and then he gets it from there, yeah, so it's good.
Councilor McLeod,
So,
question?
good stuff.
So Chief, but we can't write tickets based on that data, can we, or can we?
I know you can't.
It's difficult to do, but when we do the outreach, typically when we're looking at the intersections we're looking at, it's people in the neighborhood, so it's having its benefits by us reaching out to the registered owner.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the photo radar there, Councilor McLeod?
Baseball.
Well, I know it's gaining some interest because Peter Bevan Baker, the opposition leader, brought it up in the House about the cameras around the city.
Well,
Are we gonna follow up or not?
It's certainly nice to see that data. It's certainly good to have, and certainly justifies them setting up, knowing what intersections to set up. Yeah.
Question?
Questions called?
Councilor McLeod?
In favor.
Councilor Field?
In favor.
Councilor Yankoff?
In favor?
Councilor Rivard?
In favor.
Councilor Drawn? Mayor Cody? In favor. Councilor Bernard?
Favor.
Councilor McCabe?
In favor.
Councilor Duffy?
In favor.
And Councilor Ramsey, Kevin Ramsey. Good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, in favor.
Good. Another one, sir? That's it?
That's it, your shot.
I just,
Aye.
oh, you do too, okay.
You have a
Yeah,
question?
I'd like to ask a few questions of the chief.
Oh, okay.
Is that all right?
Can you ask, because it's quarter after 8, go ahead, sir.
What time are we done?
10:30.
Don't encourage him.
Okay, Chief, as you know, the issue of drugs in the city is paramount, and there's been a lot of discussion throughout the city. For example, I had a resident, the last 2 days, I must have talked to her 4 times. When I traveled throughout the city, and particularly my ward, there seems to be more and more drug houses. People are looking for action, and as you know, I've been consistent over the last number of months wanting to deal with this particular issue. I think with the amount of drugs that are on the streets of Charlottetown, maybe it's time to do some type of review with respect to drug enforcement. Drug enforcement that would look at all the resources that the police department uses to see what the evidence-based results are. I think it is time to look at that because there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of anxiety. People are just, they've just had it with these drug houses, crack houses, people that are in their neighborhood that they're fearful of, and they want some progress. So I bring that forward. The other thing I bring forward is last month I talked about the needles on the streets, and I think it'd be prudent for the department in conjunction with the communications personnel here next door to issue a press release that when people see needles in the parking lots, on the city's right-of-way, in people's backyards, that they do have an opportunity to contact the Charlottetown Police Department, and the police will pick up the needles. The needles are all over the place. So I wanted to bring those 2 issues, and I think a review, an independent review of drug enforcement, something I'd be willing to participate on, and I'd even volunteer to head up the committee. So I just wanted to bring that forward, Chair Duran and Chief Smith. We got some serious problems, and the people want to see some action.
Councilor Duran, at the last committee meeting, can you just tell the council what we're planning to do with the
Well, we're trying to get a
time to meet
council of the whole.
with senior management?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's the
the
top
day
of it.
after the last council meeting, I I wrote the mayor and I asked the chief as well to get something together to go to all of council to have a committee of the whole and explain your concerns to with the traffic and the drug houses. So they're getting information and we're trying to get that sooner rather than later, but it's been a little bit of a delay.
Yeah. So you're in touch with the chief and, yeah, everything's going forward.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
yes, we've
What-
discussed things, they're getting information together, and we're gonna set up a committee of the whole
Thank you, sir.
sometime fairly soon.
Councilor Yankoff?
Yep, I just have two quick questions. Thank you, by the way, Councilor Durant, for your report. The one is Victoria Row, some of the restaurants have been asking if there's a possibility of having their tables and chairs extended out a row. So I had left a message, and I'm just wondering if you could take that back to committee to see whether or not that's something that is even possible for them for temporary for this year due to COVID. And my second question was, according to the Compass last week, Wednesday, the mayor had said, in reference to the outdoor patios, that we may have to look at changing the bylaw, which was what you had commented on Compass.
If we have to add to it.
Yeah, you said we may have to look at changing the bylaw. And according to Todd Sutcliffe, there's 6 additional requests for that, and I'm just wondering, is that actually something that you're looking at, changing that bylaw for this year? And that's what I got. Thank you.
Great answer, you're gonna answer.
We'd have to have discussions with committee. We did discuss that at the last committee meeting. We're capped right now. So that's, in order to make any additional changes, the bylaw have to be.
It requires a public consultation, and then a recommendation comes back, correct? We have to do a public consultation for that? No public consultation?
No, they would just come here.
Okay, so that speeds it up.
And someone's gonna get back to me at some point on the Victoria Row request? I think that bylaw falls under.
We'll take it to the committee
Great,
and discuss it.
thank you.
Both issues, thank you, Councilor Yankoff. Okay, good. Okay, water and sewer, thanks, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I mean, just in the essence of time here, the committee did meet and the report is in your package. It's pretty straightforward. We do have one resolution for council to consider. And if there's any questions or comments, I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah. Yes?
Yeah. Chair Cody, it's okay to go direct the question to Richard? Sure. Okay. I noticed that the Green Party made reference to Hillsborough River polluted with respect to the shellfish industry. And I believe the criticism was mounted towards Stratford as opposed to the city of Charlottetown. What was the impact and effect of the statements they made, and are we in any which way, shape, or form either liable or are we a part of the pollution that is a result of what Stratford's doing? Or, like, I mean, is it affecting the city of Charlottetown and what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay, just, Councilor Twill, legal advisor, could you just give us some legal advice on that, please?
Just, Councilor Twill, in your question, you mentioned it, whether or not he could opine on the liability of the city, and I just strongly recommend that he refrain from making any statements of potential liability for the city during an open.
Yes.
Okay, never mind the liability, but are we, like, how are we involved in this whole equation? You know, they were teeing off from Stratford. I mean, we're doing everything we can. We've shut down the East Royalty Lagoon. We're working with Stratford, and I'm sure it was a unfortunate situation where the industry was shut down. So, what kind of a dialogue are we having with Stratford to try to rectify the situation?
Is that all right,
Yeah.
Mr. McHugh?
Is that all right?
Mr. McHugh? Can you just give us a?
You're with us.
As you're aware, we're spending millions of dollars to help
Stratford, the pollution control plant in Charlottetown will eventually be taking the waste from Stratford. I'm not aware of the details associated with the recent closure. It did not have anything to do with the city of Charlottetown, and I'm not aware of the details.
Thank you. And I think that we could bring that up, that issue could be discussed at Water and Sewer, right,
Sure.
Mr. Chair?
Well, that's an issue that it has nothing to do with the city of Charlottetown. I'm not sure why you would. No, it's just nothing to do with the city of
Yeah, I'm
Charlottetown.
trying to figure out what the question was, but we can deal with it.
Well, the question is, what is the impact on the shellfish industry that's situated all throughout the Hillsborough River? I mean, they were teeing off about what took place in Stratford, and does that affect, you know, the work that we're doing and all the precautions that we're taking?
We'll get the answers.
There's no boundaries when it comes to the river, right?
Well, did you want to ask a question or make a comment?
I just had a comment. It wasn't on that.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
But I did, the project with East Rowley and moving the wastewater to the plant. The reinstatement has just been completed, or very close to being completed. I just want to thank the committee and especially the manager. I know I had a number of calls to the manager, and all those things were addressed, and the reinstatement is done very well. It's a really good job they did.
Yeah.
So I just want to pass that on because it's not just an okay job, it's an excellent job.
Yeah.
So again, thank you and your committee, and I want to thank the
Thanks,
manager
Richard.
for taking all those calls. So, thank you.
No, the credit goes to the contractor. I walked it last week. I was very impressed as well. I hope it will stay as green as it is and will look as good into the future as it does these days. I think we've had great weather to help, but it's remarkable.
Well, it's not a lot of times, boys, where we go through projects and the properties end up looking better after they're done than.
So the lagoon is filled in?
Pardon me?
The lagoon is filled in? No.
The lagoon, no, they're taking all the sludge out and they put
That's a
that
big
back.
job. Jeez.
But as far as where all the pipe went, all the digging, all the front yards and the roadways and so on, that's all been reinstated and put the sods down. Everything's been looked after to very professionally.
Thank you.
So, and I want to thank Richard.
Pass that on to the contractor.
Will do.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Your
economic,
Resolution by Deputy Mayor Cody, second by Council Bernard. Resolved that the city of Charlottetown accept the tender from Summerside Chrysler Dodge in the amount of $68,993.10, taxes included, for the supply of one 2020 5500 series chassis and cab work truck, and that this be expensed of the utility capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Questions called?
Questions called. Councilor McLeod.
Favor.
Councilor Twill.
Favor.
Councilor Yankoff. Councilor Yankoff.
Thinking.
Thinking?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Just remember the 5500 series can only be bought from Somerset. Reliable don't have the franchise.
Non-reliable has it, it's right here, 164,000.
Yeah, I think we'll ask Roger that.
Next page.
Yeah, it's up 69,000.
No, that's a 3500 series.
Yeah. We're doing one.
55.
Favor?
They couldn't survive.
Councilor Rivera?
I'm in favor.
Councilor Durant?
Yes.
Councilor...
In favor.
Yes.
Councilor Durant, Bernard? Councilor McCabe?
Yeah.
Councilor Duffy?
Yes.
And Councilor Ramsey.
Favor.
Okay. Economic development.
Thank you, Your Worship.
We have Wayne and Lowell coming in there.
Economic Development, Tourism, and
Yeah.
Events Management Committee met June 2nd. The minutes are in your package. Charlottetown Arts Advisory Board did not meet this month. There's no resolutions, but I have a few highlights, Your Worship, if I may. I would like to, is he there? Oh, yes, congratulate Wayne Long, our Events Development Officer, on his recent appointment to the Sports Tourism Canada, National Sports Tourism Recovery Task Force. And then we got the Diverse City Multicultural Festival at home will take place virtually this year on Saturday, June 27th at 7 p.m. The Capital City Canada Day will also take place virtually this year with 2 professional productions, one for the children at 11 a.m. and an entertainment production at 7:30 p.m. There will also be ways for residents to get involved before Canada Day through a home decorating contest and a photo mosaic. Details available on our city website and our social media platforms, Your Worship.
Thank you there, Councilor Ramsey.
You're very welcome, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, we're going to have the lights in the bell tower going for Canada Day.
It's all up to Public Works, Mr. Duffy.
Congratulations, Wayne.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
congratulations, Wayne, again.
Congratulations, Wayne.
Congrats.
Connie, you're your money. Any questions? There's no resolutions? Councilor Chu, you're on our committee, we don't need any questions.
Questions? Move on. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much. Environment and Sustainability, Councilor McLeod.
The Environment and Sustainability Committee met on May 26th.
Yes.
The Mayor's Task Force on Active Transportation and Food Council did not meet since our last council, but the Mayor's Task Force is meeting tomorrow evening. So hopefully we'll hear some things going forward there. Just a few highlights, Your Worship. The monthly ridership for Charlottetown Transit System increased slightly in May compared to last month. When compared to May of 2019, though, ridership is still down 64%. T3 Transit continues to operate under public health protocols, and to limit the spread of COVID-19 are recommending that passengers wear masks where not able to maintain the physical distancing. So if you don't mind just reaching out to your constituents about that, that you know that uses the transit system. The city is holding a virtual bike week, June 13th to 20th. As you know, we always did a ride, but unfortunately COVID doesn't allow that this time. So Bike Week will include a virtual cycling contest encouraging residents to get out on their bikes, safety messaging how to do videos to maintain your bike, and bike to work day promotions will happen. We also will be launching the Charlottetown Cycling Handbook and have released an updated bike map for 2020. On Friday, May 19th, our mayor will be challenging Chris Pride of CFCY Radio to a race at the Oval at Confederation Landing, and we'll be collecting your guesses for the winner. Best of luck. Maybe someday you'll be in the Kentucky Derby. The city also recently launched a new partnership with PEI Nature Tracker. What we hope here is that the residents of Charlottetown will enjoy and appreciate nature and the beauty of our city. Residents can participate by taking photographs of different plants and wildlife, and see what is in the city and upload them to the PEI Nature Track. This will help recognize the contribution with a small prize. The city will also release seasonal scavenger hunts. This is all to help with our tied in with our summer edition of the pollinators, such as bees, butterflies, and important insects. And one last thing, just on gardening in small spaces workshop, this Sunday is completely full, which is really good news. This workshop focuses on teaching residents how to grow food and pollinator plants in small places like patios and window boxes and this type of thing. So COVID-19 has created some renewed interest in food gardening. So that's a positive one.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of positives that we can take out of it, but that is one. And that concludes my report. And I have no resolutions.
No resolutions.
Any questions? I'll try to answer.
Any questions? Good report there. Thanks very much. Thank you, Ramona.
Thank you, Ramona.
Stole her thunder.
Strategic priorities.
Great, thank you. I'll be brief. Strategic priorities in intergovernmental cooperation. And on Thursday, May 28th, the minutes are included in your package. The Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, as well as the Youth Engagement Advisory Committee, have not met. I have no resolutions at this time, but I will just give you a quick update on 2 items that I know we're all anxiously waiting for, and that is the new fire hall and the update on the multi-use facility. So first off, on the fire hall, since our last meeting, the committee has met and continued to collect design and cost analysis from other jurisdictions, both locally and regionally, as we believe it is important to gain the knowledge from others who have recently built such projects. So although the project has taken considerable time, we want to ensure all necessary steps continue to be taken to ensure that our tax dollars are well spent. The committee also recently toured the new Stratford Fire facility and received information from other municipalities. So in terms of the multi-use facility, we are still waiting on Sierra Planning to give us the update, which is scheduled, I believe, for early next week. And hopefully we'll have some information to bring back to council after that. So, any questions? I will do my best to answer them. Thank you.
Questions? Okay. Finance.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councilor Yankoff. Thank you very much. Councilor
Your Worship, Finance Audit Committee met on June the 3rd. There is no resolutions in your package. Just wanted to comment, Your Worship, last month I believe it was 44 resolutions we passed. This month it was not quite 20. Fulfilling commitment we made when we passed the budget that we would get tenders out as quickly as possible. Again, want to thank staff for all the hard work they're putting together. This is the most tenders we put out at this time of year, probably in the history of the city. So they've been working on it. We wanted to get money out and get flowing and help the economy recover. So hopefully that's what's happening, because it's basically 60 resolutions we put out there in the last 2 months. So, and Your Worship, the budget, from when we passed it April 2nd, we are on schedule to where we expect it to be. So, if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Councilor, got a question?
Just more of a comment, Councilor Bernard. Thanks for your report. I'm just wondering, can we get back to getting those monthly financial statements included in the package with COVID-19? It'd just be nice to.
Yeah, I'm wondering why. Is there a reason it wasn't? It's just because of the COVID-19, or?
No, a couple of things. We are moving our accounting system over to Microsoft Dynamics, so
that's right.
we will have a report for next month. There was some catch up to do, April and May, so that is being done now. So we will have a report next month.
Could we get the 3 months, April, May, and June?
April, May for sure.
yeah.
I was asking that question today about June as well, and I'm not sure yet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You're all right there? Jason?
Okay.
Yeah.
You're all right? Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Bernard, thank you very much. And Councilor Brian?
Thanks, Mark.
Council Advisory Committee met on May 29th, and the draft open minutes are in the package. We have one resolution for council's consideration. I'll try to answer any questions, and just to bring forward there on the 2050 vision, 2 names we have forwarded to the committee for consideration, Councilor Gregoire and myself. So we'll just let that play out, and we'll forward the names and see what happens. Yeah, we might have to narrow it down, but if we don't, great.
2 is better than 1.
2 is better than 1. So that's it for my report.
Any questions? Councilor Brown?
Thank you for your report, Councilor McLeod. In the remuneration, bylaw or whatever they did to give us all a raise, in the recommendations, there was a number of new recommendations. One of them was reducing the number of council committees. I had asked previously about, are your committee going to look at this to reduce the workload of the committees? I know now it seems like we have more meetings, special meetings, committee meetings. I'm on planning, so there's 3 or 4 other meetings there all the time. So has your committee ever looked at that to take one of the recommendations that the group gave us?
Yeah, so thank you very much for your question, Councilor Duran. It is now down at the province because they go through the MGA, right? We have to ask permission, and they are redoing their MGA bylaw. So hopefully they're going to give us a little more wiggle room. But basically, just to refresh your memory, what took place there was when the mayor became a voting member of every committee. It was recommended that we add councillors to make an odd number, right? So that, because what was happening was at 3 members plus the mayor would never break a tie, right? So being the chair of a committee, the chair didn't get to break ties, so it was suggested by legal that we go from 3 members to 5, and that's what's really made us busy, and that's what the Enumeration and Allowance Committee's seen, and said, you know what, they should put that back. And in hindsight, you know, they were looking out at the Georgetowns and the O'Learys and, you know, the smaller communities, but here in Charlottetown and some of the bigger municipalities, it didn't help us. It made it, you know, as you just said, it made us much busier. So those have been sent to the province, and we're hoping to hear word is, I think it's the August sometime that they're redoing their.
Is the letter gone out, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, the letter has.
Check, Your Worship, but also the committee, when they met
Yeah.
last time, it said they're going to review the committees now for the fall. If you recall, it's the 2-year review, and they're also looking at structures as well, so that's already underway, Councillor.
Yeah.
But if we want to reduce the number of committees, we can do that without the MGA.
Absolutely, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
George McDonald did it in 97,
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah.
He had 4 or 5 committees with chairs and co-chairs.
Yeah.
Right? Councillor Duffy?
But we have to.
Yeah, no, there was more.
Geez, I don't remember that.
No,
There was more
George
than that.
McDonald, 97, 2000.
Yeah.
You were elected in 2000.
Yeah, but getting back
changed back
to
then.
Councillor Durong's question
Yeah, he
is, you know, there's a lot to consider here when we're moving forward with the council advisory, because, you know, there is some people saying that we should have maybe 6 on planning or 12 on planning, all of us sit on planning. You know, so council advisory's got to start getting out there, collecting all those facts and hearing from each councillor, you know, their concerns, so that we can form a good opinion. We talked, you know, about making sure it's a good open dialogue of information.
I think we're
So
all on 5 committees, are we not?
we're all on 5, but like Bobby says, planning is a busier one for sure.
Oh, yes, for
You
sure.
know,
And then there's outside committees too.
got about 8.
what's that?
There's outside committees too.
And then
There's PEI Federation Municipalities.
yeah, oh yeah, and like you say, you're on 2 boards there. You're on the local, and then you're on the Canadian board. So we all are busy, and we do recognize that, and we're going to try and help get the province to help us out with putting back to 3. Okay, you know, if that works. I don't
So
know.
planning board, you look at the whole council maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Do you have a timeline?
well, as far as I know, it's in the fall. When we go to do our committee structure, the 2-year mark is up. That's when things will change, including our neighborhood advisory committees. You know, our standing committees are going to change too. But so will, you know, some of the literature around them too as well, as to how useful they've been. Have they been any, or have they been too much, or all that's got to be put into the equation as well. So big changes coming fall.
Councillor Vernon.
Just to follow up, so again, I'm hoping there's a lot of consultation here with members of the council from the advisory committee, because again, when we're talking about changing all the standing committees, you know, keep in mind too, with the planning board, is that we just changed over, and there's a fairly large learning curve to the board members. I'd hate to see that they would just get comfortable and then all of a sudden axe them and have to retrain or send, you know, another 6 through orientation basically to try to get ahead of the learning curve, because it's not easy, and they're just starting to get comfortable. So I'm hoping that standing committee or a few remain, because I can't imagine having to bring 6 new members in.
That's governed by the Planning Act too.
What's that?
The planning board is governed by the Planning Act,
Yeah.
Prince Edward Island.
No, I'm talking about the resident members that we currently have that are just learning
Yeah.
and getting comfortable, that they remain unless they don't want to.
Well, that'll be all based on information that you'll be forwarding to our committee as to what your thoughts and ideas are on keeping them or moving them along, and we'll take that all together into our fact-finding mission.
Councillor Ramsey?
Yeah, and I think everything got to be approved by council anyway.
Oh, yeah, we just make
Oh, no,
recommendations.
I'm just throwing,
Yeah.
just asking.
We just gathered all, told the
Collaboration,
council.
cooperation, all in partnership.
We know where he lives too.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy.
Oh, Councillor Cron has another
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
So these recommendations came out in January.
Yeah.
And it's, I know you're trying to change the committees, but the recommendations came out that they would reduce the committees. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Like, so you say things are coming in the fall.
Right.
Like, is there not a timeline? Like I said, we acted on mostly all of the recommendations.
Right.
Why are we leaving that one out? That's the one I wanna,
Because that one is governed by the province, under the MGA.
but I thought the
For us
mayor-
to
the mayor just
reduce,
said-
for us to reduce, Councillor Duran, a number of councillors on committees, there would have to be an adjustment made that the mayor doesn't vote at our committee level like it used to be.
Okay. So
Right, so
that's one thing,
That's one thing, yeah.
but this is the committees in general. That's they're two separate things.
Right, so the committees in general is the fall when we, before, just at the 2-year mark up is when we said we were gonna make changes to the committees.
But
To the
you're
committees.
You're
And
confused.
review.
Yeah, not necessarily change.
Well, it depends on what everyone's, you know, again, that'd be a
But
fact
like I say, the recommendations from the report says to reduce the committees. Now, I understand you want to reduce the numbers on certain committees, but what I'm saying is the
Number of
committees, committees to be reduced. So that would, again, reduce, you know, all the meetings, right?
That's what he's saying, it'll take place in the fall when we look at the review.
So we're doing all that together.
The whole
Yes.
thing.
The both.
It's the structure of Charlottetown City Council's committee system is what Bobby's saying is
Yeah.
one.
And the appointments.
And the
Composition
committees.
of those,
Right.
that one or the one we're presently in now is an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
But we're gonna look at both.
Yeah, that's what he said, yeah.
But at the same time, traditionally, you have a
But,
council that's chair
Councillor
of the
Duffy,
committee.
you know why they, in the MGA, and Mr. Kelly might correct me if I'm wrong, the reason they put the mayor on each of the committees, because now the mayor's office, or the office of the mayor, is not under the old rules and procedural bylaw. He or she appointed committee chairs, committee members,
Right,
and that's how it was set up until
yes, till 2017
2017.
with the MGA.
2018, when the change was
Well,
made.
really, yeah, it was Christmas of 2017.
So
So does
here's
that committee stay for 4 years, or does that get revamped too?
the procedural committee.
The CAC, yeah.
Oh, I
Council
think,
Advisory.
I think it all gets revamped.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
No, I was just
I-
wondering, then they're not gonna, are they gonna do all the work, or is that?
As great as we
revamped?
are, we're not, you know, we're not.
Oh, you're
Oh,
great.
stop.
Is it new people gonna look at the reconfiguration then, or is it the same committee?
It'll be the existing committee.
Okay.
So, Your Worship, just looking ahead, I'm just wondering with 10 elected officials, and there's normally 10 elected officials that give reports at each monthly meeting.
Correct.
So how are you going to reduce the committees? Some people not going to give reports and others do.
Well, Councillor Duffy, what happened in 97, 2000?
I'd say
Did the chair,
it didn't work. That's why they reverted back.
I don't, did the chair present or did the vice chair present?
You mean right after amalgamation?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the same as it is now.
yeah, 5 committees,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No.
There was 10 committees.
Yeah.
There's 10 councillors.
There was no finance and human resources, it was all finance, human resources?
Yeah.
Same as it
Just
is
the
now.
same. Yeah.
I thought he had it,
You
anyways.
know what? You may be right.
No,
It
no,
might have
I
been
know he
started
did.
out-
I
it
know
might have
he
been,
did.
and it fell flat in its face.
Yeah,
and we
because some of the
soon
chairs
scampered back the way it
co-chairs
was
couldn't work
before.
together.
There might have been a short period where they gave, yeah, there might have been a technical committee and a professional committee, and underneath that, all other stuff flowed.
Because Richard Brown, who was on council at the time.
I remember him.
Chair of Water and Sewer.
Probably works.
Any relation to you?
No.
So I don't see it.
No,
Okay, answer my question, thank you.
No, there's a lot more discussion.
Yeah, but
Why
not
do-
tonight,
Read the-
sorry.
yeah.
Let's read the resolution, sir.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy.
This
second by
took quite a
Councillor
few months to get done, too.
Yankoff, that Make Your Hometown Beautiful program be transferred from the Economic Development, Tourism, and Event Management Committee to the Public Works and Urban Beautification Committee, terms of reference, Your Worship.
Question?
Question?
Well,
Question?
Aye.
Councillor McLeod? Yay.
In favor.
Councillor Twill?
Yeah.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivert?
In favor.
Councillor Durant? Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
Favor?
In
Councillor
favor, yeah.
Kay? Councillor Duffy?
In favor?
Watch out,
Councillor
just a-
Ramsey?
in favor?
Motion to adjourn?
And
Works
motion
back.
to adjourn, and thank you very much for all your time and
I'll second it,
patience.
Tracy.
Are you listening to me, Councillor Twill?
Public Works is back being the flower kids.
No, it's a committee, Scott.
I just,
Are we staying at 7 o'clock?